and gentlemen, right about now, let's get ready to rumble still stand. Woo, hey, dope, hey, woo, hey, dope, tank, NASA, woo, 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 tank, woo, tank, woo, tank, woo, tank, woo, tank, I scrap with the best. If I sit 10 rounds, that 9 gon' connect. If you ain't from the 1 or 2, I respect. Cause I probably just forgot and wrote it strictly for my set. Wu-Tang, man, I love my coming up here. This is where the cheese at. Look here, here, this is where the cheese at. Look here, more money, more colors, my naive cat. If you still believe that, still believe that. Think I'm a laid back player? Forget it. First 100 G's I've seen. I'm trying to flip it, flip it, flip it, flip it. Entertain, insane, purple rain, musical genius, cleanest, 35 trying to survive on our meanest, amped up with a whole lot of watts, beat bang like a whole lot of shots in the gun, bang, there's something I bang, bang, there's something I bang, bang, there's something I bang, trouble shot, vodka on the rock star drunk, rock and roll songs belong to blues singers. So beat the song that we sing ya, sing ya, sing ya.
Oh, we must stay vigilant. We must stay vigilant. We must remain aware. Stay vigilant, chuddies. Hello. How are we? How is everyone? Hello, my little chuddies. How are we today? Hello, hello. Hope everyone is doing really well today. What's happening? Yes, the music was still loud because I really liked that song and I wanted to play it all the way through, so yeah, had to do it. Had to do it. Turn my mic down a little bit because I'm peeking the shit out of it. Hello. Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Everyone doing good? Hope everyone's doing good. Well, sure. So for those curious as to what that was the did anyone play DJ Hero? Did anyone play DJ Hero back in 2009 when that gem of a game was released? Did anyone do that? Am I the only guy here that played that game? I might be one of the only people that played DJ Hero. Because everyone was all about Guitar Hero, and then like DJ Hero just kind of skated in under the radar, and so many people have not heard of it. Absolutely insane. It's like one of the best music rhythm games ever made. It's fucking phenomenal, and it has one of the craziest set lists in all of music games you've ever seen. And the reason for that is because unlike something like Guitar Hero or Rock Band or what have you, each song is completely unique in that it's a mashup between 2 or more songs, and it's fucking insane. Like, all of the songs, all of the things you play are entirely unique and specifically made for this game. It is absolutely wild how, like, and they do shit that, like, just doesn't make sense, either. Like, they put stuff together that just does not make sense. There's just there's so much good music. My chat's in the way here. Hello, Lucid. There's just so much good music. Where's my desktop? Hello? My desktop going to appear at all? What's happening? Oh, I love it when OBS just decides to shit itself entirely. Come on. What's going on here? Can I... What? Whoa. There it is. There it is. Okay, that was bizarre. Anyways, here we go. So, this game was absolutely wild. It was so fun and so good. Like, they had a specific controller for it as well. I'll show you what this thing looked like. It was a beast of a controller, this thing. This was the controller. It had 3 buttons. You could turn the turntable, and it had a crossfader. And then it had this little knob you could turn to like a little effects knob, you know. It's like, you know, little Babby's first turntable and mixer, right? This was such an awesome game, and it had so many. I want to say you've all, not all of you, but most of you had probably have heard this mashup. I need to find it. Hold on, where is it? Most of you have probably heard this. That's not it. Where is it? I don't remember it being this far up in the playlist. Hold on, because I want you guys to experience this if you've not experienced this, okay? Yeah, you I want to know if you guys have heard this or not. Some of y'all might have. I think some of y'all might have heard this before. This is like just one of my favorite games ever made, dude. It's so good. Insane. Insane mashup. They did, and there's like 200 of these in this game. Like, some suck. Like, some mashups just aren't good. But some, like, ones like these are insanely good. Holy shit. So, hold on. Like, me tone that down a bit. There's one more. I want you guys, before we get into TF2 stuff, yes, hi, hello. This is going to be about TF2, don't worry. But there's one more that I want you guys to experience that is easily one of the hardest drops I've ever heard. Ever. So if you can't tell, this is just one of my favorite games ever made. So when the game first came out, it had a set list, and then they pushed out DLC with a whole bunch of new mashups and songs. And this one in particular is fucking wild. But they also did a sequel called DJ Hero 2, which is infinitely inferior to the first game, because the first game had so many like good artists and like crazy mashups. The second one leaned a little too hard into like the DJ as a career trend, where you had like bigger names. You had like Lady Gaga and Snoop Dogg and deadmau5 and what have you. And a lot of them just kind of sucked, or they were just like mediocre mashups. But the first game had so many, like, they had Queen and just so much good shit. This one, this has probably, this is a sleeper. There's only 15,000 views on this. This has easily one of the hardest drops you've ever heard in electronic music, and I want you to experience this with me before we get started, because it's just too good. Any Sandstorm fans? You're watching this in VR chat? Hell yeah, dude. Song name? Hello. Right here. It's on the screen. Just experience it. You gotta feel it. Let it flow through you. Got the classic keys. Oh, I love this shit. wait. I need both earbuds for this, because I can't diminish the experience. It's just so good, dude! It's fucking wild how good this is for a fucking video game! God! And this game was $60. You got the controller, you got all this music, you got everything handed to you, and you could just go crazy with this shit in your bedroom. Holy fuck! This was one of the best games ever made, and so few people have heard of it. If you can still manage to find this game, it was for the Nintendo Wii, by the way. If you can manage to find this game, get it, and get the controller. You have to play this. It's a little wonky, but man, it's so good. It's such a good fucking game. If you can't tell, I love it. It really is good. Oh yeah, it was also on PlayStation. Yes. Yeah, it's just, there's so many good songs in this. Anyways, hello. Now we're shifting gears over to Team Fortress 2. You may have noticed I'm currently not in my bedroom. That's because my bedroom down the hall is being remodeled, and my entire room has been gutted, it has been repainted, and we are going to be putting some tile down very soon. So I'm currently inside of a different room. You may recognize this from a couple years ago. I have been in this room before, but we're chilling out in here for today. How is everyone? Everyone doing good? Everyone doing alright? Hope everyone's doing good. How are we doing today? Let me get some different music going here. Some chiller stuff in the background. Is the paint region in the room big? Yeah, technically. Get some... Turn that down a little bit. See if that's too loud or not. Oh, hello? Get this going here. There we go. I think that should suffice. There we go. Good shit. Jim Carrey starred as Dr. Egg. Jim Carrey starred as Dr. Eggman playing DJ Hero. Yeah. First time catching a stream. Got a good laugh at just the rent-free yapping in the Bottler 3000 comments. Dude, it's honestly one of the worst cosmetics ever added to the game. I think this piece of shit... Hold on, let me just pull up the... Let me pull up the workshop page for it. I do not understand why they thought it was a good idea to put that item in the game. It's absolutely wild to me. I think it's terrible. It's just something that should not be inside of Team Fortress 2. If you can't tell, I don't like it. Except for the game. Bring this back over here. It is honestly one of the worst items ever added to the game. Where's this fucking thing? Where's this awful... This fucking thing. You know what? You know the cosmetic is bad. In my opinion. You know the cosmetic is bad in my opinion. Because the promotion for the item doesn't even have the mercenary in it. Like, you are buying this character. You are buying this little creature to follow you around. It's not a cosmetic. This is a little extraneous piece of garbage that follows you around. How does... Okay, you say it fits the art style. How on earth does a little toy robot following you around with a drink even come remotely close to TF2's art style? How on earth does this fit the art style of the game in any way, shape, or form? Is it because it's cartoony? No. I think it's fucking terrible. I think it's fucking ugly. But yeah, my primary issue with this item is it has nothing to do with the art style at all. My primary issue with this item is that you have this big chunky thing, this little thing that extends so far outside of the player model, It adds more visual noise to your screen, and it follows you around, and it just makes more clutter. And if you have clutter following someone around, that's going to be something that people are going to want to shoot at. And this is so frustrating to me because Team Fortress 2, at its core, was designed to have as little visual noise as possible, to be as readable as possible. So when you have things that aren't the player or things being shot at you moving around, that fucks with gameplay readability. And so if you have these little creatures following you around, it's going to be something that's going to be occluding things that are more important. Jesus fuck, that is so loud. Whoever did the audio mixing on this YouTube video should be shot. Give me a different playlist here. Someone that knows how to mix audio, please. Like, something like this just needs to be Halloween restricted. Like, I would be fine if this was Halloween restricted. Because what is the Halloween restriction for? At least traditionally. What was the Halloween restriction for? The Halloween restriction was for cosmetics that extend outside, way outside, of hitboxes. Things that are so visually far removed from the game that they shouldn't be in there year-round. Because when you have wings and tails and big, like, protrusions and extra limbs jutting out from the character model, that's going to be something that people are going to want to shoot at and will try to shoot at, and then when they do, it's not going to do anything. So they restrict these things to be only around for a very short period of time, certain time of year, where it's all expected, right? But when you throw more junk in like this that's available year-round, that defeats the purpose of having a game that is readable. I hate that shit. Yeah, and this isn't Halloween restricted. You can have it year-round. Like, and I said in my video, thank God that it's elite grade, because we would be seeing this way more often. Yeah, 100% Halloween restrict this thing, and then I would be way more okay with this. Completely. Yeah, the thing is, no one uses this cosmetic because it's rare, I should say. If it wasn't as rare, I think you'd be seeing this a lot more often. If this becomes the standard, we are doomed. What's a bit alarming to me is that Valve reached out to the people who made this cosmetic, and they wrote custom code to make it work in-game. So it was a deliberate decision by whatever new devs or new hires at Valve to put this in the game, which is even more alarming to me. Yeah, so it was an intentional decision by Valve to have this thing in-game and have this thing work. I was having a very interesting conversation yesterday, actually, about the summer update, where if you look at all the stuff they added in-game, it really seemed like things were chosen to match something that loosely resembled a cohesive update. You had a lot of the Tropic Crisis maps, you had a lot of the Tropic Crisis cosmetics, you had the little character from, I guess what you can call the flagship map, which was Embargo, right, which is this robot here. So it seems like people were picking items, because I've also heard from multiple sources, not just one person, that it wasn't just Eric Smith that picked the content, it was multiple people that picked the content. So that's one thing. And so it seemed like they were picking things to match a more of a theme, so to speak, for an update. And as a result, this robot was picked, Embargo was picked, some of the other, like, South America jungle-themed cosmetics were picked. So I find that rather interesting, that it seems like now we have multiple people at Valve picking content for TF2, and that's very alarming because these are kind of like new hires that really weren't around when the game was in its heyday and really understood in terms of, like, you have to keep at least loosely in touch with TF2's visual design to make sure you don't add something that's an abhorrent violation to it. So, yeah, it's a little alarming to me. You can sort of tell that there's more than one guy right now based on how the notification blurs are use we and us's. Yeah, I noticed that. And so, from what I've been told, there's like 5 or 6 people that have their hands on TF2 right now. No idea if they're full-time. Guaranteed they're not full-time. There's no way in hell that these are full-time employees working on TF2. But I've heard from some people there's like 5 or 6 people that have their hands on TF2 in some capacity. Don't know what that capacity is. Don't know if that's full-time. Have no idea what they're working on. But down the grapevine, it seems like whoever's being allowed to work on the game is trying to kind of float the idea. They're like, hey, maybe we want to try to start pushing more themed, tighter, cohesive updates, really just content dumps. that kind of loosely follow a theme, right? And I think this was whoever was picking the content kind of experimenting, like, hey, yeah, let's kind of get something that's roughly cohesive and float this by the higher-ups as something that could be, that could happen again. But the higher-ups at Valve, from what I've been told, want absolutely nothing to do with community-driven and community-oriented updates simply because of what happened in 2014. They never want to have to deal with that bullshit ever again. See, people keep telling me to look at RD Asteroid. The difference between RD Asteroid and this cosmetic is that the RD Asteroid has robots, and those are the actual game objective. And the reason why that map was scrapped entirely is because that game objective, a whole bunch of little robots moving around, where you had to shoot the objective and not other players, was too far removed from the actual game, where your main opponent should be the other players and not the actual game objective. The game objective is something that you should be able to loosely interact with and allowed to progress. You try to shoot little robots, that's not TF2. That's why that map was ultimately left in a beta mode and never fully fleshed out. So, you cannot compare the two. Like, it just, Anyway, yeah, so, and the reason why Valve doesn't want to do community updates again, main reason being, is because in 2014, that's when we had the Invasion update. For that, and I assume some of you guys were around when the Invasion update came out. And when the Invasion update came out, that was an update that was... Sorry, 2015. Sorry, not 2014. 2015 was an update that was entirely spearheaded by the community. It was organized by the community. All the content was made by the community. And as a result, what happened is you had a small handful of individuals that were puppeteering the entire thing. And so you had like one or two guys at the top, and then a whole bunch of other creators down at the bottom. And it was horribly mismanaged. I've heard horror stories, I've seen Reddit posts and what have you, where there was one creator, to my memory, where one creator was like bullied, was quote unquote harassed, but he was just being, he was being, roughhoused on the internet, being bullied online by the people who were like coordinating the update. He had his work taken from him, stolen from him without credit, and put into the update. That's just one example, which is fucking crazy to me. And then when the update was pushed, you had the 2 or 3 guys at the top try to take the lion's share of the revenue for themselves and then give like a mere tiny percentage to everyone else inside of that update. And so many people in that update complained that Valve actually had to step in and say, no, 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 don't do that. We're gonna divvy up everyone to have an equal cut. And that's why, from 2015 forward, whenever community content was added, that's why they give them a percentage of the key sales rather than some kind of arbitrary allotment via like a purchasable game pass or what have you. And because of the hideous greed and rotten to the core behavior of, to no one's surprise, a few Emporium members and some other people that are now long since gone, that is why we can no longer have community updates within TF2. And because some of those same people are still around and within the Emporium and still make content and still have their content accepted into the game, Valve wants nothing to do with these guys aside from just cherry-picking the things that they make off the workshop and putting them in-game. So we will never, ever again have anything that resembles a fully fleshed out, full-blown, community-made update. Valve wants nothing to do with it. And it is for the best. Because when you let people fend for themselves, when it comes to something like money and being paid for it, guess what's going to happen? People are going to let greed take over, and they're going to bully and manhandle their way in to get as much money as possible. How old's the Emporium? The Emporium has been a group since the early 2010s, so this goes way back. So, when Valve first added hats into the game, many years ago, it was a small group of people online that were making these cosmetics for TF2. I think it started on Face Punch forums, long time ago. Valve saw that these guys were making cosmetics for TF2. No, it was more than 10 years ago. It was like back in 2009, 2010. 2009, I think. Valve saw that these guys were making hats for TF2, and they said, hey, we want to buy your hats. And they did. And they put them in the game. And that group gradually evolved into what became the Emporium today. And they first started out on the Face Punch forums. It was a fully public group. Anyone could come in, post, talk about item creation, access resources, what have you. But it was very much a tight-knit, cliquey group of what are now 30-year-old men, mostly. Starting off, much younger, late teens, early 20s. Making content for the game. and they've all been the same very cliquey group for over a decade. And then once Facepunch shut down, they moved over to Discord, and now it's become a much more tight-knit public group, so to speak, where it's really a group of about 30 to 40 guys that make about 80 to 90% of the content that gets in the game. And generally, newer creators have an incredibly hard time breaking into the content creation sphere because it's pretty much monopolized by these 30 to 40 guys, rather indirectly. Because one thing, they don't like competition. So if you go inside the Emporium and you want to make new content, good fucking luck getting help. They're not going to help you. Good luck accessing resources. They're not going to give them to you. You will get the cold shoulder unless you appeal to one of the higher-ups, unless you appeal to one of the guys that has gotten so much content in the game, they take interest in what you're working on, and they'll float the idea by you. Hey, let me work with you on this, and attach my name to their work, and so they can get a cut and get more money from the game. That's generally how you break into the content creation sphere with TF2, is by appealing to the guys who've been there for a very long time. More or less. Not to say that new content creators don't get chosen at random without having to do that, it does happen. But it's a very ingrained and somewhat corrupt and fucked up system. Where did I get this info? Just go inside the Emporium. It is public. Well, they banned me because I started bringing all this shit to light, so they ultimately had to ban me. Because they can't have their parade rained on. They gotta have their, you know, they don't like having their income threatened by having what they do brought to light. So they ultimately banned me from all their stuff because I'm still there, by the way. It's not like alternate accounts don't exist, so I'm still in there seeing all this shit. It's very well documented. Has Valve tried to do anything about this? No, not really. And Valve really doesn't care because it doesn't really reflect on them. Because all they do is just cherry-pick content from the workshop, so the workshop acts as this nice facade, this nice little middleman between them and the content creators, and they just take that content and put it in-game, and that's it. Yeah, the Emporium video keeps getting added to, because just more shit keeps happening. Just more shit keeps happening. It's just, ugh. Oh my god. I'm not Mario, stop it. I'm not Mario. Yeah, what happened to Warpaints? Valve really doesn't seem interested in adding Warpaints anymore, from what I've been told. Like, the people who were part of the Tropic Crisis group were reaching out to Valve and asking them, hey, what about Warpaints? You guys are doing all this custom code for stuff you're adding to the game for the summer update. You guys gonna do Warpaints for us? And every time they asked, they just didn't get a response. So it seems like Valve is really allergic to Warpaints. Don't really know why. If they're willing to do custom code for maps and cosmetics like this piece of shit, then why wouldn't they do that for Warpaints as well? I'm not sure. Maybe they'll do something more in the future. I honestly have no idea. I really don't. Market bloat? The game's market is already bloated to high hell, man. It's already like there's thousands of cosmetics in this game, excluding skins. There's so much shit, and like why why wouldn't Valve give people another loot box to open to get them more money? I don't know. Yeah, the shit's been bloated for a long time. Like, and also unusual effects. My god, how many effects did we get in this update? Like, we got how many? Some ridiculous amount? Like 38 unusual effects? Yeah, 38? We got, where is it? 38 fucking unusual effects. Why? We don't need that many. Stop. The rate at which they're adding unusual effects means that the number of unusual effects is going to surpass the number of hats in-game very quickly. It's insane. They keep adding three to four times the amount of unusual effects as are hats that can have unusual effects. It's fucking crazy. We don't need more of them, and most of the effects they add are shit. It's just too much. It's like too many knockoff. It's like going into the grocery store. You are presented with the cereal aisle, and you have like Fruit Loops, and then you have like knockoff Fruit Loops, and the knockoff of Fruit Loops called like Fruit Holes or something. I don't know. It's just all the same shit. It's too much. We don't need more unusual effects. And honestly, the right thing that in my opinion should be done is start recycling unusual effects. Yeah, rerun cosmetics. That would be a really cool thing for them to do, but they can't do that because FOMO. Fear of missing out. If you don't have the fear of missing out, you're not going to get as much money in the short term up front when people are frantically opening the new cases to get that new content. So yeah. Also, it brings forth a very unfortunate issue with monetization in the long run, because if they start rerunning cosmetics, they have to reattach the creators of those cosmetics to that new case. And if it's like, let's say it's a particularly old effect or an old cosmetic or what have you, some of those people are just fucking gone. So how are they going to get that money to them? The case system they have set up right now is far easier to maintain. And they can't rerun unusual effects like they do with CSGO knives, right? Because the knives and finishes are made by Valve, so they can rerun them to their heart's content. Same for gloves, right? And same for like the like map collections, right? For like the Aztec collection or the Anubis collection, what have you. They can rerun those as much as they like because they're all Valve made. But they can't do that with TF2 unusual effects because they're made by other people. And getting the money to their respective creators would be a fucking nightmare. So Valve doesn't want to do that. Wait, CSGO added gloves? Where have you been since 2016? 15? When they add gloves? It's been like a decade. The gloves have been in CSGO for a long time. Where have you been? Not to scold you. I'm not scolding you for like keeping up with your microtransaction lore in other video games. Ay ay ay. See, a universal strangifier, as cool of an idea as that is, would fucking annihilate the market, and that's counterintuitive to what Valve wants. If you could just suddenly make everything strange, that would tank the value of very expensive items that are strange. I'd love it, because that means I'd get a strange Dragon's Fury, but wishful thinking. Pretty crazy. Just want a strange... There just should be a strange version of every weapon and reskin a la like the Maul or the 3-rune blade, what have you. Those should just have strange versions, period. At this point. Plain and simple. Make a stat clock for different grades. But thing is, then you can't do trade-ups to then obliterate shitloads of skins. Guilty as charged. To then get the higher grade skins, you know, it's you have to spend more money to get the things you want. It's all gambling. All gambling. More means of gambling. That's all Valve wants you to do is gamble, gamble, gamble. Gamba, gamba, gamba. That's all they care about. I do not care about fucking shitty toilet. Skibby, the fucking kids show. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Don't care about the YouTube videos. Don't care about the fucking movie. It's pure sheer brain rot. Made for sub-50 IQ children, and the adults that will go watch it. I do not give a fuck. If you, as an adult, goes to watch that movie, without you yourself having kids, then shame on you, but also shame on you for showing that to your kids. You have failed as a parent. Yeah, apparently so what I've heard, there's gonna be a movie. I don't know if that's real. If it is, my god, what the fuck? To me, that's insane. Buy a hat. For your hat, yes. Exactly. Also, they're adding keychains to CSGO, I think. I don't know if that's real or not. Who knows what's real anymore? This is the internet. This is the internet after all. You just can't keep track. Can't keep track. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic. Like, I feel like this is going to be mostly a talking stream. I have a couple videos that I want to watch. I have some shit that I want to talk about, so we're just going to chit-chat today. This is me catching up with like a month's worth of shit that I've missed out on because I've been away. All right, so we're just going to chill today. I might play TF2 later, we'll see. Just going to chit-chat a bit. So, one thing I want to talk about, just a thought that came to mind. I made a tweet about this earlier. Isn't it crazy that we've had 1 month? We've had 1 month where we've had no bots in game. And it's almost like people have forgotten. Does anyone else see this? Does anyone else feel like that's what's happened? That people just like like no one seems to remember. No one seems to care. I missed the chat, by the way. Been good, but I've just been paranoid about trying to get my Valve index since it comes in today. Hell yeah. Linux machines. Yeah, it's been memory hold, as the kids say. You know, what bots, right? Isn't it crazy that for only a mere month, we've had no bots? And it just feels like people have already forgotten the past 7 years of Valve just letting that happen. For over half a decade, Valve just let that happen. Did fucking nothing. And then finally a month ago, they did the bare minimum and did something. Isn't that crazy to think about? Like, no other game has experienced something like this. No other game was rendered unplayable by because of such a bullshit reason for so long, right? Like, you have Titanfall 2 and its server issues, right? But TF2 this persisted for 7 years. Isn't that wild to think about? And that whole time, Valve kept pushing out updates. People kept giving them money. Valve would happily take it. And they just did nothing. To me, it's like people have been Stockholm syndromed into like thinking that things are fine now, and they're not. Like it's like now we've just been put right back. We've been put right back to where we were in 2016, which is the post Meet Your Match hell. Like, we're back at square one, right? To me, that's crazy. They said they weren't doing nothing. They said they weren't doing nothing. I think he might be sipping negativity juice. Dude, 7 years. 7 years. And there has been some information here and there, none of it fully verified, that 2 years ago, Valve allowed one person. Valve allowed one person to work on the problem. And it took that one person 2 years to put out the fix that we got a month ago. One fucking person. So, never mind the 5 years that came before that, where they were perfectly content on just letting the problem persist. Just forget about that. Like, that, we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen. And then the 2 years where they let one guy work on this and take 2 years to fix it. We're just gonna forget that? To me, it's crazy, because people are praising Valve for what has largely amounted to be a fairly mediocre update through and through. Mostly terrible cosmetics. I think only 3 of the maps are really good. The rest are kind of or terrible. This is like everyone's just happy again. The only reason why they acknowledged it at all was the slur spamming bots. I don't know if that's true. I think the reason why Valve acknowledged it is because they were working on another game. They were working on a new game, which eventually became Deadlock, right? They started working on this. Was it Neon Prime? Wasn't that like originally what it's called? They started working on Neon Prime some years ago. And they realized, oh, we probably shouldn't leave TF2 in this state before we try to push out a new game. And by 2021, 2022, Valve was like starting to manifest something that looked like a fully fleshed out game. And they're like, maybe before we push this out for people to buy, maybe we should start working on TF2 a little bit just to make it playable so people don't get pissed off at us. I think that was their primary driver. Because if they had the fucking audacity to push out a brand new game without addressing the most egregious disaster that any video game has ever faced, people were just gonna laugh at them. We already were, don't get me wrong, but people will just fucking laugh at them. Like, why on earth should we trust them to maintain a new game if they can't maintain their current ones? I think that was the primary driver for why they started working on TF2 again. And I'm still not going to play I agree, yeah, I'm still not touching Deadlock with a 50-foot pole. It looks fucking terrible. So, welcome back. Desperate to hear your updated thoughts on maps. So many play awfully, and I hate Overgrown the most visually. Yeah, I'll give my updated thoughts on the maps in a little bit. Because I've gone through most of them and experienced them, and most of them do play like fucking shit. You said in one of your streams that you know a reason why the summer update was delayed. Yeah, because they were trying to get shit working on the maps. Was the primary reason. July marks 4 years of muted free-to-plays. Isn't that fucking crazy as well? Like, here's what we need to be focusing on next. This is what everyone should have been focusing on a long time ago, but then the bots took precedent because we couldn't even play the game. Here's what we need to focus on now. 2 things. 1, unmute free-to-plays because that's fucking bullshit. You should not have to pay to engage with the basic communication features that TF2 has had since day fucking 1. That is bullshit. You should not have to pay money to call for a medic. At the bare minimum, at least let people access the pre-packaged voice commands. Let people have that. But I will settle for nothing less than allowing people to access voice chat and text chat. Like, what the fuck, Valve? It fixed nothing because all bots... And here's something else too, man. When it came to the bots, muting free-to-plays did fucking nothing. Because it was so easy just to go buy premium accounts for 6 cents a piece and then send them out to cheat and mic spam and spam the chat. So muting free-to-plays did absolutely nothing. It's actually very, very, very easy to buy brand new accounts. I've been walked through the process. Expect that video later this year. It's fucking insane how easy it is to buy bots, either individually or en masse. It's a little disgusting. Like, Steam in general has an insane botting problem. Again, wait till later this year. But muting free-to-plays did absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. So that just needs to be reverted immediately. You have the word filters, you have the toggles if you don't want to see shit, it's that easy, and now that the bots are gone, there is no reason why free-to-plays should be muted. There was no reason to mute them in the first place, because there was workarounds that bot hosters did anyways by just buying premium accounts. It did fucking nothing. So bring that back. Second, quickplay. Fix the fucking abysmal matchmaking system, or bring back quickplay. You can't fix the matchmaking system. That's a misnomer. You cannot fix whatever this is. You cannot fix this. You cannot fix the matchmaking system. Bring back quick play. I will settle for nothing less. Bring back quick play. Because TF2 was not designed to be a competitive game. It was designed to be a come and go as you please, free-for-all, 24 versus 24, casual chill-out game where you can engage with the gameplay using any desired level you so choose. You want to sweat? You can sweat. You want to chill? You can chill. They made 9 classes to appeal to as many different tastes as possible, and that's how the game was. But then because Valve was chasing the... It's a bit more complicated than them just chasing Overwatch. But because Valve wanted to chase trends and have a third massive esport under their belt. Sorry, 12v12, not 24 versus 24, 12v12. And they wanted to have another third esport under their belt. They thought, yeah, let's introduce matchmaking into TF2. This will be a great idea. And it completely ruined the game. I'm running a poll real quick. How many of you started playing after Meet Your Match? I want to know how many of you were not here to experience quick play. I gotta know. Okay, so it seems like about 50% so far. We'll see how far this goes. 2019, I'm so sorry. So, roughly half of you have not experienced quick play in TF2. You've only ever experienced the matchmaking system. So what I'm saying to you will mean absolutely nothing, because you did not touch the game before this abysmal system was rolled out. The problem with a matchmaking system, with TF2, is that you have to place 12 people versus 12 people of varying skill levels, with 9 classes that play completely differently, within different environments that play completely differently depending on the class you're playing on. It is an immensely complex game that you cannot water down into a simple set of statistics to determine whether or not one player is better than the other. Is my internet shitting itself? Do I have drop frames? Nope, we're good. I think we're okay. And Valve pushed out a matchmaking system thinking it would be good, where they removed all of the features of quick play, where you had no auto scramble, no team scramble. Rounds would end after someone would win, not a 45-minute round timer, where you would have 45 minutes of uninterrupted play instead of joining a server and then 5 minutes later having to re-queue. No miserably unbalanced teams because the scramble features would fix that for you, for which the matchmaking system simply cannot do, ever. And so they had to bring back auto scramble just to maintain something that resembled evenly sized teams. You don't mind matchmaking? My friend, I guarantee you were not here for quick play. If you don't mind matchmaking, it's because you have not experienced the better alternative. You have not experienced what the game was designed to be. Anyone who thinks matchmaking is okay inside of TF2 started playing the game after Meet Your Match, and did not understand or play quick play. And you can't have scramble features inside of a competitive game because the teams have to be the same. You can't have one guy on one team moving over to the other because you can't have a definite winner. You can't have a definite winner or a definite loser. You have to have winners and losers in TF2 so you can rank up on your badge and get your MMR. What does after Meet Your Match mean? After the Meet Your Match update of 2016. Did you start playing TF2 after the Meet Your Match update in 2016? That's what I'm asking. No, Meet Your Match was released in 2016. We don't need quick play, we need upgraded quick play. See, the thing is, quick play was fine. It had a few issues. It wasn't perfect, don't get me wrong. But Valve should have fixed quick play instead of ushering out a shitty matchmaking system that completely ruined the gameplay loop for TF2. Absolute disaster. And that's the video I'm working on next. And so I really do apologize for taking so long to push out anything that resembles a video. Like a good video in a while. But I've been spending a lot of time writing a script for this video about Meet Your Match, just so people can fucking understand how awful that update was, and how awful the position we are in now compared to where we were back in 2014, during the quick play era. Thing is, Gabber made a very good video about it, but he missed a few points. Yeah, he missed a few very important points, and he placed all of the blame on Overwatch. He missed a few very key things that Valve is notorious for doing, and that really needed to be expanded upon for people to truly understand why Valve pushed out that matchmaking system. It was all for money, don't get me wrong. That's the ultimate reason, it's for more money. But there's a few key things that Valve did and royally fucked up on. Like, for example, listening to competitive players and thinking that a watered-down version of TF2 is representative of the vanilla game. What the fuck were you thinking? I like how it's taboo to acknowledge that. Or, like, rather, it used to be taboo to acknowledge that, but now that Uncle Dane acknowledges that that's something that shouldn't be done, now it's, like, totally okay. Where I was, like, saying this for years, and I was, like, lambasted to no end. I was, like, scolded, like, how dare you not like competitive TF2? Gee, it's almost as if, though, removing 5 out of the 9 classes, reducing it down to 6v6, and also banning a shitload of maps and weapons is not the vanilla game, and plays completely differently. Curious to think about. That balancing would not work inside of the vanilla game, and that you should not steer the vanilla game in that direction. Now, you just hate people who play better than you. No. I despise that Valve listened to the wrong people. They don't want to play TF2. They want to play something else. I don't know what it is, but they don't want to play TF2. Also revert the ambassador. I completely agree. You can't balance for 12v12 when you can do it for 6v. You can't. Fucking God, it's like you can't balance one to match the other. It's not possible. Remember that whole sentiment of bridging the gap between competitive and casual? Remember that shit? Valve even said that shit. Like, yeah, we want to, you know, connect competitive players and casual players. Oh my God. I hate that you need to come up with counter arguments to the worst opinions that are definitely out there somewhere. I mean, you'd be surprised. You have people that legitimately think that the matchmaking update was a good thing. They should have looked at Highlander instead of sixes. No, that's also completely false, because when you lock when you first of all, when you have class limits, that's no longer TF2. People should play whatever the fuck they want, however the fuck they want, using whatever weapons they want, whatever strategies they want, on whatever map they want. That is what TF2 is. When you restrict the team sizes to 9v9 and one of each class, you have now created a completely different game environment. It is not the same. And it's even more different when you do 6v6. 6v6 is even more removed, even further removed from the vanilla game. You cannot balance the normal vanilla game for any competitive version homebrewed by the community. You cannot do it. It should not have been done. Could they add quick play back, or would that destroy the code? I don't know. They can. The thing is, they can absolutely do something. It's not like it's impossible for them to do something with here's the thing. The matchmaking system already basically behaves like quick play. They've watered down the matchmaking system so much that your MMR means absolutely nothing. Balancing is all over the place. You're basically being put into a normal quick play game, except now with the shitty system that is matchmaking, where rounds end after one win or one loss, where you have no scrambling or no balancing features, and queue times are fucking ass. It's terrible. And also not being able to select the server you want to play on the specific map you want to play on, instead of having a matchmaking system do it for you. Also not being able to join ad hoc with your friends and having to all queue together into a party of 6, which just increases your queue time, because the game tries to match the size of your party with other parties of the same fucking size. Fuck! Instead of just copying and pasting the server info and telling your friends, hey, join this and let's have fun. Taking a mere fraction of the time. Valve simply could have eased the means of accessing the game that way, improving quick play, instead of rolling out the matchmaking system. Absolutely insane. Yeah, I want to watch that Emp Lemon video today. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I do want to watch that. Because I think it's I watched the first 5 minutes of it, and I think there's a lot to be said. I want to go through it. Are you gay? No. How do you know they aren't using MMR at all? Just go play the game. When was the last time you were put in a game where it seemed like everyone had the same badge as you? Everyone had the same relative skill level as you? When was the last time you were placed in a game where there were no fresh installs getting railed by the guys with 9,000 hours? That is not a matchmaking system. Just go play the game and tell me with a straight face that MMR is being used. It's not. It just means it sucks, not that they're not using it. Thing is, they did lean into it more intensively, and over a series of updates from 2016 through 2018, they had to gradually dumb down how sensitive the matchmaking system is. They swapped over to the Glyco system, which is a more heavily tailored version of a matchmaking system, and they basically changed the weights on MMR and how much influence that has over the type of matches you're put in. Now, basically all the game does is it just tries to match the map you select. It barely takes your rank into account when playing casually. Please address the issues of quick play in your video and how they should have been fixed. Oh, absolutely. I'm covering all of that. Don't worry. I will tell Valve what they should have done and what they should do. And that's like the next big thing people need to be pushing for. Also, yeah, I got a vertical mouse. I got one of these. It's actually really comfy. This is a nice mouse. It's good. Because like whenever I'm doing like a long editing session, this is not good for your wrist. This is more ergonomic, and so like I don't get wrist pains. So this mouse is actually really good. Like if you get wrist pains using a mouse, I recommend this. It's very nice. Also fits my large hands, yes. What's the advantage? It doesn't, so like when your arm is like out like this, right? When your arm's out like this, your natural resting form is when your hand is vertical like this. When you turn your hand like this, you're stressing all of your tendons in your wrist and in your forearm. And if you claw your fingers like I do whenever you're using a mouse, it puts a lot of strain on your muscles in your forearm and also on your tendons. And so it's a quick way to get carpal tunnel and also strain your arm. And so either you can do stretches to kind of mitigate that, but over a long term, it fucks you up. So a more ergonomic way to have a mouse is like the handshake position. This is a more natural position for your hand. Ergo, vertical mouse is perfect and it prevents carpal tunnel. So. And yes, I played TF2 with this mouse. Don't claw the mouse, dude. My hands are huge. Like, I don't. What do I have for reference to show how big my hands are? Like, I don't have anything that's like an easy reference. I don't have like a can. Let me get a can. I'll show you how big my hands are. Hold on. So, I have a can, right? So here's a can. Here's a can. Here's my hand. I have large hands, so I need a proper mouse to accommodate that. If not, I have a claw grip because I can't rest my hand. Like if I rest my hand down over the whole mouse, it just covers the whole thing. So I have big hands. You got a ruler? No, I don't have a ruler, unfortunately. Otherwise, I can give a more direct measurement. TF2 model hands? Yaoi. No, I'm fucking. No, I don't have yaoi hands. Also, I am 6'7", and for Euro units, that's 200 centimeters. Those hands explain why you like taller women need big hands to carry big women. I mean, I'm cursed, man. I am as tall as I am, and I like tall chicks, and I'm fucked. There's no winning for me. I'm screwed. What's my grip strength? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Yes, I am 2 meters tall. There's no supply. There's no supply for me. I'm fucked. If I was a foot shorter, I'd be in heaven. I'd have options for days. But I'm screwed. I have no idea how many pull-ups I can do. How do I fit in my fucking house? Thankfully, my house is normal sized. And I fit in my home just fine. No issues there. You're cursed at 5'11 and a half. No, that's above average. You are above average height, at least in America. Like the average height in America is like 5'10". So if you're over 5'10", you're in the golden zone. If you're 5'10", you're average. If you're below 5'10", you're not quite a manlet until you hit 5'7". You're under 5'7". Sorry. I envy your position, don't get me wrong, because that means there's taller women out there, but if you're 5'7" or below... I'm sorry. You have options for taller ladies, though, so you have that going for you. You look like how the Japanese view American. Dude, when I was in Japan, that was an experience. So, I don't think there's a crazier experience than showing up at Shinagawa Station at rush hour, and you're coming off the train, and you're walking through that station, and you're going through the rivers of people, and I'm like a head and a half taller than most people. And so you can just envision an ocean of Japanese people wearing black business clothes, like black suits and black dresses, because that, like, color is not allowed in the workplace in Japan for some reason. And then envision me wearing a green puffy vest and a fluorescent orange backpack, 2 meters tall, half a meter higher than most people in that fucking country, just sticking out like a sore thumb in that station, looking for my fucking hotel. That was wild. It was chaos. Oh my, like, when I say that station was busy, there was no more than a half an inch between you and the next person. It's crazy, crazy packed. Yeah, I did have a... Funny enough, only a couple of Japanese people, like, walked up to me and asked if I was American. Funny enough, the Filipino crew on the ship that I was working on was more interested in me, because apparently American basketball is a really big deal in the Philippines. And so I had the ship crew asking me a whole bunch of questions about American basketball. And it's like, wow, you're tall. Do you play basketball? It's like, no, I suck at sports. He's like, where are you from? I'm from San Antonio. He's like, oh yeah, San Antonio Spurs. And so they kept asking me a whole bunch of questions about my hometown's basketball team, which is really funny. And then they asked for pictures next to me. So it's this little guy. He's like 5'3" standing next to me. He was all excited because he was like standing next to a basketball player. So that was cute. Really nice guys. Those guys were in the mess hall. They were the mess crew. Man, they cooked some good food. You guys fed us really well on that ship, and I cannot thank you enough. You guys were awesome. Cannot wait to go on that ship again. Jesus. It was a good time. Do I kneel for group photos? No, I don't. Have I tried basketball? Yeah, I did when I was in middle school. But in middle school, I was really fat and really out of shape. So I hated sports and didn't do them. And so when I was kind of asked to do it, I tried it. Not because I wanted to, because other people wanted me to, and I hated it. So, like, I was so fat, they said, yeah, just go stand under the basket and hold your arms up and wait for the ball to come to you. And that's all I did, because I just couldn't, I could not run fast. I was too fat. I'm too uncoordinated. I'm too uncoordinated for ball sports. Like, my legs aren't long enough. Like, so my torso length is about the same as my leg length. So I can't jump. I can't run very fast. So I'm not really built for... I'm built more for swimming. I'm not built for basketball. Like, I have really long arms. Like, my wingspan is greater than my height. So I'm better for swimming. Have I heard the controversies about the 2024 Olympics and the Olympics intro? Dude, the Olympics is a shit show. Like, they're swimming in the most polluted rivers in the world. Could you imagine being an athlete, training your entire life to go compete in, like, distance swimming in France, right? In Paris. And they said, okay, here, jump in the most polluted water and then go swim. Get it in your mouth, get it in your fucking ears and eyes and every fucking orifice, and then you get out and you puke because of how filthy the water is. Because of how putrid that water is. Holy fuck, that would be utter misery. Oh my god. That was... ugh. How long did it take me to lose the weight? About a year. It took me about a year of just engaging in a better diet and it's mostly diet. Like, if you want to lose weight, 80% diet. Being active really helps as well, because being active improves your metabolism, building more muscle improves your metabolism, burns more calories. Exercise also helps with your mental health because it releases endorphins. You get the runner's high, you get the lifter's high. Exercise is just good for you in more ways than just your physical health, but also your mental health. But if you want to lose weight, 80% diet. It all matters what's going in here. I'm getting broken up with live. Ouch. I am really sorry. Was it her fault or yours? Because if it was her fault, we can all band together and say, that sucks. But if it was your fault, I don't know what to say. Yeah, I saw that Turkish guy with the pistol. Talk about a badass, man. Rolling out of bed, putting your glasses on. Yeah, just gonna get silver medal in accuracy with shooting. Holy shit. That was great. That was fucking cool. Anyways, you know, one month without nicotine. There you go, man. Keep it up. Get that shit out of your body. Anyways, what other TF2 shit's been going on before I get to the first video that I want to watch? What other TF2 shit's been happening? I feel like I've covered most things, if not everything I want to talk about. Oh, right, the maps. Yeah, so maps. Maps I wanted to address. So, Embargo, I played on it a little bit last night. The map really doesn't play that well. Well, right now the map is broken because the respawn timer on the last point is like 50 seconds long, so that's not supposed to be like that. And right now, like, the creators of Embargo are trying to get Valve to, like, fix that, and they just haven't yet. So, you have Embargo. The map, I think, plays really bad. The second point is just shitty choke. It's super choky. And the way the map is laid out, I was having this discussion with the map maker yesterday. So the way the map is laid out, it doesn't really guide players where to go. You have most people funneling down like that main road and not paying attention to the flanks. And so it just gets, the stalemates are terrible, and the last point plays like shit too. The timer doesn't help. Hopefully the timer will address that. But also, visually, it's very hard to see what's going on the map because of how fucking busy it is. Oh, visually, that map is just one of the least appropriate that's been added to the game to date. Like, Whatville aside, right? Whatville aside. That's a fucking travesty, of course. And then other Christmas maps aside as well. But, like, in terms of what are supposed to be vanilla maps, easily one of the least appropriate in terms of TF2. Yeah, Cachoeira is... So this is pronounced Cachoeira, by the way. I think that translates into waterfall, if my memory serves. Cachoeira is like waterfall or tears or something like that. So Cachoeira, that map plays okay. It's so like I like the side of the map that's away from the point. Like around the point doesn't play very great, but on the other side of the point where it's got more verticality and playing under the point is good. That's all right. It has one kind of annoying sideline leading on to the point that's a bit of annoying to deal with, but it has decent enough flanks to get around it. Unfortunately, the other half of the map where you can kind of flank around can be shut down by one engineer, and that sucks. And so unless you get the high ground, which is also being looked at by a sniper to shoot down on it, you're kind of fucked. And also being able to build on that roof is, but it's okay. And yeah, the roof is really powerful there too. Odyssey, I have not played more on it since the amount I said in my review video, so I can't say much on that. Megaton is fucking horrible. So first of all, Megaton is optimized like pure ass. You're not getting more than 50 frames while playing on Megaton. Then the map is so open, the snipers can get up on the roofs and fucking just have sight over the... It's worse than Harvest. They can see over the whole map and there's no way to flank. You just die. It fucking sucks. Megaton is probably one of the... It's like, in terms of how the map plays, Megaton is probably one of the worst maps they've ever added, because it's just this big open bowl that snipers can perch themselves on and just shoot down on everyone. It sucks. Somehow worse than Harvest. Somehow worse than Nucleus in terms of sniper, snipers. Jesus. Horrible map. Overgrown just should not have been added in terms of a gameplay standpoint, because we were having this conversation yesterday. There's no staging areas. There's no staging areas for a team fight to happen for attack-defend. It's just a giant spaghetti bowl of corridors, and then a big open area, a giant spaghetti bowl of corridors, and then a big open area with more spaghetti corridors. There's no, like, definitive staging area or, like, places for people to play around. It's just a whole bunch of people tangled around and moving around each other, so it's just this big, discombobulated mess that doesn't really facilitate team play, and it plays like absolute utter shit, and just should not have been added to the game. Easily another one of the worst maps that just should not have been picked. Overgrown is terrible. Hadal has the one glaring problem, now that I've played on it again. Hadal has the one glaring problem that the last point should not be open the entire time. I think you need to be forced to cap A and then B before you can cap the last point on Hadal. Then the map would play... Hadal, not Hadal, Hadal. Then the map would play a lot better. But as it stands right now, because you can cap the last point, and because of how easy it is to get to, you can completely bypass point A and point B, and then, it's way too easy to cap the last point. I completely agree. That's why I think that you should not be able to, and it should function like Gravel Pit. You get A and B first, and then you can get C. I think that's how it should play. That's the only problem with it. Otherwise, I like the map. I like playing around A and B and C once the platform is raised all the way. That's really fun. But the last point being open the entire time is not a good idea. Applejack, like I said this in my review video, Applejack was made to be King of the Hill. It not capture the flag. This just should have been a King of the Hill map. It looks like a King of the Hill map. It's designed to be King of the Hill. It's just it just should have been. Period. It still plays okay as capture the flag. It's probably, I would say it's probably like top 2. There's not that many capture the flag maps in game, but it's probably one of the best ones they've added. It plays reasonably well. But really wish this was really wish this was King of the Hill and not capture the flag. So Applejack, in terms of like the maps I enjoyed the most, this is probably one of the better maps they added, in my opinion. Atom Smash is just fun. It's Monster Bash, except without the Halloween theming and the annoying spells. It's player destruction, and it's really fun. The only thing I don't like about Atom Smash is I want the pit. Can I have the pit back? The pit is really fun. I like getting knocked into the pit and then jumping through the thingy and then coming out with like a mini crit bonus or something. Like, can we have that in the vanilla version? I really enjoyed that. Put that in the vanilla one. Other than that, I like Atom Smash. Really fun. Looks cool, plays cool, it's great. So, controversial opinion. Controversial opinion, because, you know, what wouldn't be controversial coming out of my mouth? I think Canaveral is the best map we got in this update. Looks like TF2, really fun 5 CP map, love the way it looks, plays really well. I think Canaveral is the best one they added. I think it's good. I think it's really good. Yeah, Atom Smash suffers from the same problems that Nucleus does, where the entire map is open at one time, so you can't have map occluders. So the whole thing has to render at once, so the game's performance is going to tank. That's really the only serious problem, but that's just the nature of how the map is designed, unfortunately. Anyways, Canaveral, I think, is the best map we got. And in my opinion, so what is the best 5 CP map in the game? What do y'all think? What do y'all think is the best 5 CP map in TF2? In my humble opinion, I think it's Gully Wash. I think Gully Wash is the best 5 CP. I don't think it's Well. I think Capture the Flag is more fun for Well. Capture the Flag... Well comes second place. So for me, it's Gully Wash, then it's Well, and then it's Canaveral. Canaveral takes third place for me. For 5 CP. I hate 5. 5 Gorge sucks. 5 Gorge is horrible. I don't know how... It's too big. 5 Gorge is just way too big. I don't know how... I also forgot about Foundry. I like Foundry too. Okay, I lied. So... No, Foundry's 4th place. Foundry's really fun. Yukon is further down the list. I like Yukon as well. I think Foundry is... Freight's 5. Freight is 5th. Because Freight's really fun too. So, to say again... So, that's Gully Wash, and then I forgot. Shit. What was number 2? Fuck. My memory sucks. So, wow. I am having a brain fart. Anyways, said my top 5. I think Canaveral is really good. Canaveral is in my top 5. Sorry, Well. Yeah, so it was Well. So it was Gully Wash, Well, Canaveral, and then I'm gonna put Freight in number 4, and then I'm gonna put maybe I want to put Yukon in 5. It's hard to say. I don't like 5 CP Badlands. I think Koth Badlands is better. What goes... Foundry for... It's hard... I can't decide what for 4th and 5th between Freight and Foundry, because I love both of those maps. Yukon is good. I'll put Yukon at 6. Yukon at 6. Sunshine sucks. Sunshine was specifically made to be a competitive 6v6 map, and therefore it plays like shit in 12v12. I fucking hate Sunshine. Plays like raw dick. Hate it. Same for Process. Fucking hate it. Hate Process, hate Sunshine. Thing is, I like 3CP. That's why I like Powerhouse. We need more 3CP maps where they're symmetrical like 5CP is. And someone brought up the very interesting point that Canaveral probably would have functioned better as 3CP instead of 5CP. And honestly, I agree. I think the second point is completely unnecessary. It should be last point, middle point, and then kind of just, and then truncate the map a little bit. Then Canaveral would have functioned better as 3CP instead of 5CP. But I love Powerhouse. Powerhouse is probably my favorite map in the game. Three CP Powerhouse timer is too long? Oh, my sweet summer child. Little do you know, Powerhouse used to have no timer. And that was the best timer. The best timer on Powerhouse is no timer at all. Because you have the endless meat grinder. Where you my longest match in TF2 was a 4.5 hour long round on fucking Powerhouse. We didn't finish a single round for 4.5 hours. And after 4.5 hours of going through that fucking meat grinder, my team lost. And it sucked. But man, it was fun. That's the way Powerhouse needs to be played. That is indeed TF2 at its finest. Powerhouse needs no timer. Simple as. Anyways, Berghausen, I've only played on it once. It's okay. It doesn't play as well as I thought it would. It's just okay. It's very mid. I'm not offended by it. It's just okay. Yeah, my server, my TF2 server, has Powerhouse with no timer the way God intended. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. Berghausen looks bad? I don't think so. I think it looks okay. Like, it has, I guess what you could call the established aesthetic for what is medieval mode. You know, like, cause like, it's odd, because medieval mode was added later on in the game, where you had De Groot Keep, and so you had, like, that kind of defining the quote-unquote medieval style for TF2. And it works enough. Follows the same artistic principles of TF2 stylization, except it's, you know, medieval, so I think it's okay. Berghausen follows it much like Rottenberg does. It's okay. I don't think it looks bad. Thoughts on CP Fastlane? Meh. It's alright. Hey. I just remembered something. So, before I watched the first video, I had a video that I was going to make. But I'm not going to make it now. Because I want to focus on the matchmaking video. I have a whole script written for it. And I looked at the script and I'm like, man, this is fucking boring. I don't want to make this video. So I figured I could give all of you like a stream exclusive of what this video was going to be. And I can use MS Paint. I can use MS Paint to show you what this video is going to be. If people are curious. If not, I can move on to the first video or do something else. So, I'll do this very briefly. I'll do this very briefly, alright? So, I wanted to make a video about TF2's melee hit registration. Because I am so tired of hearing that TF2's melee hit registration is broken. I'm so tired of hearing this. TF2's melee hit registration is not fucking broken. It bugs the shit out of me when people say this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to open up Illustrator. because I think that'll be easier for me to use. Give me just a new file. Give me this. There we go. So, right now, I'm not talking about interp. I'm not talking about network settings. That's a completely different can of worms. What I'm talking about right now are hitboxes. I'm talking about hitboxes. Not talking about network bullshit. That's a fucking mess, alright? The fact you have to change your settings, change your interp shit to make things work properly, that's a whole nother can of worms. I'm talking about hitboxes, alright? Just the hitboxes. For those of you that don't know, melee hit registration works on the collision hull. TF2's collision hull is the box that surrounds the player model. So this is also, mind you, we're doing a top-down view. Top-down. We're doing top-down here. This is a top-down view, okay? Melee hit registration uses the collision hull. When you swing your melee weapon, the game projects a box out from the center of your collision hull and projects it outward about yay far. None of this is to scale. None of this is to scale. Alright? But this is what the melee hitbox looks like, roughly. And what happens is when that box comes into contact with another box, no matter how slight a contact, no matter how small, that counts as a hit. That is how melee registration works in the game at the bare minimum. So Aaron, it does send a box. It's not a line. It has to send the box. You know why? Because what also happens, this is what the game does. So the game first projects out a line like so. It projects out a line about yay long. If this line doesn't come into contact with a collision hull, then it uses this box to check whether or not a collision hull is within the melee hitbox. And then it registers a hit. That's how it works. And so in the presence of multiple enemies, if there are multiple enemies you're fighting, what happens is if this ray comes into contact with someone, even if they aren't closer to you, your melee will hit on this person because it prioritizes this ray first, even if this other person is closer to you. In a sense, this is how the game rewards aim with your melee, because that line projects out from your crosshair. So if you're aiming at this person, then that ray is going to come into contact with this person, and you will hit them instead of this person whose collision hull is closer to you. But if that ray hits nothing, if the ray comes into contact with no collision hulls, then the melee hitbox will prioritize the person who is closer to you. Keep that in mind. That's how it works. And then, in the presence of an enemy, if you have an enemy closer to you, an enemy will always hit your melee swings, no matter what. Sorry, a teammate will always hit your melee swings, no matter what. It doesn't matter if this ray hits an enemy. If a teammate is close to you, it will consume your melee swing, because the game considers that as being in front of you. And now, to me, this system is simple, it's intuitive, and it makes sense. And I don't think it needs to be changed, except for one reason. Only one thing needs to be changed. When you have a teammate behind you, they can overlap with your collision hull. And when they do, they also overlap with this ray and also this hitbox. And when this happens, then they consume your melee swing, and you will hit nothing. This should not happen, and it is complete bullshit. This should not happen. So all Valve needs to do to fix melee hit registration, in my opinion, is simply do this. That is all they need to do. Have the melee hitbox and the ray start from the edge of your collision hull, and not from inside of it. So whenever you have a teammate who's inside of you, they will not consume your melee swings. Otherwise, leave it the same. Then it's totally fine. And now I see people getting mad at me that a teammate should not consume your melee swings. And there is a very good reason why Valve did this. Because envision this situation. You are here, you have an enemy in front of here, and there's another person behind them. This person right here, this enemy... Sorry, we'll do this. So this is teammate, yeah. So pretend this green square is you. Pretend this green square is you. You're looking at this person who is in front of you. Just pretend they're like a heavy or something, alright? Just pretend they're a heavy, alright? Your focus is on this person. He's revved up, he's gonna shoot at you or something, what have you. Your focus is on this person. Let's just pretend these are both red team, and this is you. This is blue team, alright? This is blue team. You're on blue, enemy's on red. You're focused on this heavy. And then from behind him, someone swings their melee, you have a demo man behind this heavy, and then a bottle phases through the heavy's torso and fucking hits you. Does that seem fair to you? To have a melee swing come through the person you're prioritizing and hit you through this other enemy? Does that seem fair to you? Does that seem like a fun interaction? There is a very deliberate reason why Valve wouldn't do this. No, it does not sound fair, and you say it would never happen because you've never experienced it. And because TF2 is a close quarters combat game, this would happen a lot. And here's the thing, it's not realistic. I'm not promoting realism. I'm not promoting realism at all here. I'm just promoting gameplay logic. If you have a barrier between you, if you have this barrier right here, the barrier is this enemy. You're standing here, this person should not be able to attack through this enemy. That's just logic with interacting with your environment. That should not happen. And so what's really frustrating is you have people saying that, oh, melee swings should simply ignore your teammates. And I think that's bullshit. That should not happen. For this reason, you're focusing on this guy who's very close to you, who's attacking you, or like even trying to melee. Let's say this guy is meleeing you, and then another teammate from behind him is also meleeing through him. What are you gonna do? You can't retaliate. You can do nothing against this person. You can't attack him because this guy in front of you is going to eat whatever attacks you're trying to get at through him. You cannot retaliate against this person who is between you, right? You can't do it. He's gonna block your swings. He's gonna block your hit scan. And that brings me to hit scan. Teammates block your hit scan shots for the exact same reason. Because envision, this is you, you're attacking this guy, and this guy is now a scout. And he shoots his gun through this person and deals 90 damage through his own teammate, and you can't retaliate in any way because this guy is going to block any attacks you try to dish out on this guy. That is bullshit and should not happen. That is why hit scan is blocked by hitboxes, by teammate hitboxes. And now we get to projectiles. Projectiles are a fucking messy piece. Projectiles, ladies and gentlemen, are allowed to pass through your teammates, and for a very good reason. And that's because they're explosive. So let's use a little black box. Oop, don't do that. Let's have a little circle. Let's have a little circle as our projectile. So right here. So we have this black box. This is our projectile. Projectiles are allowed to pass through teammates up to a distance of 300 hammer units. After 300 hammer units, rockets, pipes, and sticky bombs are now blocked by your teammates. But within 300 hammer units, they phase through your teammates. And the reason for that is splash damage. It would be yes, rockets do go through teammates. Rockets go through teammates up into a distance of 300 hammer units. After 300 hammer units, the rockets will now collide with your teammates, just like pipes and just like sticky bombs. Okay? That's how it works. And the reason for that is splash damage. Because envision this. You're inside of the close quarters combat within the 300 hammer unit distance. And also something very important to note is that the blast radius for pipes, sticky bombs, and rockets is all the same. The radius is about 149 hammer units, so it's like something like this, right? So like here's your blast radius, and then here is your range, bring to front. No, range, bring to front. So here's your projectile, here's your blast radius, like so. Group these together, all right? So, the reason why it's 300 hammer units is because that's about twice your blast radius. Because if it was colliding with your teammates at a closer distance, then you would be self-damaging yourself all the time. And that would fucking suck. That would not be fun. Because within closer quarters, you have more of your teammates around you and nearby, and there's a much higher chance at this closer distance that they're going to jump in front of you and block your shot. Because collision holes are very large, all right? And then at these further distances away, the further away someone is, the higher the chance that someone's going to move in the way and block it. More so at the closer distance. And so the main reason is to prevent splash damage. That's why they allow projectiles to pass through teammates. And then after 300 hammer units, sorry, you're shit out of luck. And the reason why they did that is to cut down on spam. Because if your rockets could pass through your teammates at any distance, spam would be even worse than it already is. Same for stickies, and same for pipes. That's why those projectiles are allowed to pass through teammates. Okay? Does that make sense? Other exceptions. Flare guns. Flare guns, arrows, rescue ranger bolt, pretty much every other projectile passes through teammates at any distance. At any distance. And the reason for that is because all these other weapons are single shot and can't be spammed. Syringe guns, the Thompson, for some reason, do not pass through collision holes at any range. If you would like to experience what this game would be like if projectiles were always blocked by collision holes, go use the Thompson. Similar projectile speed as rockets. Try shooting that weapon when you're close to your team. You will hit nothing. It fucking sucks. The Thompson should not be blocked by your teammates. It should pass through. At least, at the bare minimum, give it this same 300 hammer unit distance. But in my opinion, it shouldn't be blocked by your teammates at all. And of course, the Bison penetrates everybody. Also, the Rap Assassin is blocked by everyone at any range. For some reason. Anyways, long story short, that's why Valve made weapons interact with players the way they do. Why they make melee, hit scan, and projectiles interact with people the way they do. And so that was the whole video I had planned. I was gonna teach myself how to use Blender. I was gonna make a whole 3D thing and what have you to give off these to give examples and what have you. And then I looked at the script. I'm like, fuck, this is really boring. Because how many of you are bored right now? How many of you are fucking bored? I know I am. So that's why I'm not making the video. So, anyways, that's the video that I was going to make, and now I'm not going to. I might revisit it at some point and put it on the second channel, maybe. We'll have to see how I feel. But I'm not entirely sure. Minimize that. Why do I have a fake mustache? It's not fake, I assure you. Okay. Now I think that's everything I wanted to cover. I want to watch that Emblem video. That's what I want to do. Let me pull this up. Actually, I think I had the link over here. Easier to get to it in my Discord. There we go. Bring you over. Make you big. Pause the music. Put you there. Adjust the size. Yeah. So for those of you guys, for those unaware, Emplement is actually a TF2 fan. Emplement is a TF2 fan, and he just put out this video today called "Are TF2 Players Entitled?" And this is a very, very interesting... I watched the first 5 minutes, and this is something that I see a lot of people... I've seen this said by a lot of people about TF2 fans. That TF2 fans are entitled because they demanded for the game to be playable, which is kind of crazy to me. So, I think this is a video that's going to be very much worth watching and adding my own commentary on, because we're all TF2 players here. People who tend to watch Emblem and aren't generally TF2 players, and we can kind of give our 2 cents. I think that's a fair thing to do. No, this is not the video where he shits on Deadlock. That's a different one. So... shall we begin? Let's do it. I'm ready. I think
Welcome back, everyone, to another
Emblement's great, by the way.
day. And this video is going to serve as a bit of a follow-up to the one I released a few weeks ago about Deadlock and why I think it's going to be a total garbage dumpster fire.
If anyone's not watched that video, go watch it immediately, because it explains perfectly why that game is going to fucking suck. It's just not going to be good.
And to be honest, looking at the reception it got, I was actually surprised at how many people ended up agreeing with me. You know, I was expecting this video to get a lot more backlash than it actually did, but no, it appears that my sentiment happens to be shared by a lot more people.
Yeah.
And likely a key contributing factor to this was that I happened to release my video right in the midst of the Fix TF2 movement on social media. So anti-Valve sentiment had definitely reached an all-time high. And I should clarify here that my video is not explicitly affiliated with the Fix TF2 movement.
My volume
It was
is maxed
actually
out.
somewhat of a coincidence that both of these things ended up materializing at around the same time. Moreover, I think it speaks to this greater idea about how the Deadlock leaks ended up being this straw that broke the camel's back situation.
Not quite. The whole, like, it wasn't so much the straw that broke the camel's back, it was definitely... Here's the thing. Not that many people were citing Deadlock as one of the primary motivators for Save TF2. It seems like more people were focused on the whole idea of it, like, being a movement and, like, it being this new... And like getting on Valve's ass and what have you. But as I was looking through all of the discourse, not that many people were, like, shaming Valve for, like, hey, you're really putting out another game without addressing the shit with your other ones, you know? Doesn't Emplement have weird political opinions? Why does everyone have to bring politics into fucking everything? Go outside. Touch grass. Not everything is political. Fuck! Just why? Why does it fucking matter? We're talking about a video game. Jesus! Enough! Get off Twitter! Get off Reddit! Go meet a woman! Go take her to dinner! Have a beer! Walk your dog!
Where it seems like for a lot of people like myself, who are fans of the old Valve lineage of titles and games like Team Fortress 2, the revelation that this was the shiny new toy soaking up all of Valve's attention and taking their attention away from all these older legacy titles that everyone loves, it really tipped the...
So I saw a lot of that more so on Twitter, not inside the TF2 sphere. Like, that was a sentiment that I saw a lot more inside of the Counter-Strike sphere. Because, like, Counter-Strike fans were... Like, I saw more Counter-Strike people pissed off at this than TF2 fans. Which is very interesting. Because, like, Counter-Strike fans are pissed off about the cheaters and the fact that there hasn't been an operation, what have you. TF2 fans were kind of focused on just themselves. Not saying it's a bad thing, that's just an observation that I had.
Scales in a lot of people's minds as something to finally make them stand up and say enough is enough. This new game ended up really being a lot of people.
So, you guys want an interesting piece of information? It's public, so it's not like it's a mystery. A lot of former Overwatch devs are working on Deadlock. That's why it plays the way it does, and that's why it looks the way it does. That explains a lot, doesn't it? Which is fucking hilarious. It's kind of sad, isn't it? It's not like this is a mystery. This is all public. It's out there. If you're inside the whole, you know, if you're inside the Deadlock beta, you can see who's working on it. It's not a big deal. But it's a lot of Overwatch devs working on this game that got hired by Valve. To be fair, Blizzard is a shit company, so it's no surprise. So,
People's enough is enough moment for Valve. And there's going to be a lot of people out there.
it might be good. Are you sure? You sure you want to say that? I don't know, man.
Who will listen to that and say that people like us are being unfair and unnecessarily harsh and biased. And to that I have to say, you know what? You're damn right. I am biased.
See, I don't think anyone is... So when it comes to the neglect that TF2 is facing, I don't think... People could have been more harsh. People weren't being harsh enough. People weren't being biased enough. In TF2's case, if you're offering a game as playable and accepting money through microtransactions for it, and the game is not even playable, and you're still offering it as a functional product, you deserve every speck of shit and vitriol directed at you. Because it is immensely fucked up.
Biased against this new MOBA shooter. I'll admit it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to everyone and try to act like I'm this impartial observer because
Yeah, shut up and just consume product and buy cases. Exactly.
I am a salty TF2 player who wants Valve to fix the game and anything that takes attention away from it.
But like, why even be salty? Like, why even... I'm not faulting Emblem in here, but like, why should that adjective even be associated? Like, it should just be expected that the game should be playable and functional. And like, anyone like calling us like being salty crybabies or entitled because we want that shit? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, to me, when people say that TF2 fans are entitled for the reason of wanting the game to be functional, these are people that have no personal investment in anything. They don't have a hobby, they don't truly enjoy something, or rather, they've never had something they enjoy shit all over to the point where they can't enjoy it. So, I think that's bullshit. No, I understand that. Like salt. Like I think when he said salty, I think he's saying that like he's saying it as if though other people are calling him salty, not that he's referring to himself as being salty. Because like the whole point is addressing what other people are saying about TF2 fans. Like that's not even like you shouldn't even be ascribing those adjectives to TF2 fans. And the fact we have to like say yes, we are salty, like it's like because like it's just expected. Ugh.
That is going to piss me off. And unfortunately,
shit gets serious when the OC crosses their arms.
Unfortunately, that's what
I gotta get I gotta get Zest with some arms crossed. I gotta get that done. I gotta become a fucking PNG YouTuber.
This new Deadlock game is. It is something standing in the way of what I want. And is it selfish to say that? Yeah, it is. There's no sugarcoating it. But if you're looking for a milquetoast impartial review on this channel, then I suggest you go somewhere else. Because this is my personal opinion, and it exists for good reason. And to some outside observer who doesn't have the context for anything that's going on, this all may seem like a bunch of petty theatrics. But the problem I want to investigate with this video is, am I wrong to feel this way? And with that, I want to talk more...
No, you should not feel... You're not wrong for feeling this way. Again, because it goes back to the same point that TF2 is offered as a currently playable title that Valve actively accepts money through. So you're absolutely deserve to be angry and demand for Valve to fix the game they offer as functional. Like the video should just end there with that statement. And it doesn't need to be a half hour. I made your video for you, but not being serious, it's a joke, but that's just my point.
Specifically about the Fix TF2 movement. It's a movement whose core message I primarily agree with. And while I am not explicitly affiliated with the movement itself, I do heavily share the sentiment with what it has to say. What it has to say about the state of the game and the negligence of Valve. Because when you look at the state of Team Fortress 2 public servers, it is absolutely fair to be...
So just to remind everyone, he made this before the bot fixes.
Indignant about it. It is absolutely...
That was the disclaimer at the beginning of the video.
Fair to direct hate towards Valve for what they allowed their formerly illustrious title to turn into. And I consider it a good...
And what annoys me is, like, I don't know if it's, like, object permanence or just, like, the fact that, like, people don't perceive time as this finite thing. Like, people only, like, perceive what's happening in the moment and kind of forget everything that happened before. Like, at least on the internet, right? We forget that this persisted for 7 years. 7 years of this. And Valve was very content on doing nothing for 7 years. Fuck. Yes, it was 7 years. It was 7 years. Since 9 days. 9 days after the Meet Your Match update came out, bot lobbies started appearing in casual mode. And then the severity, like the first waves of cat bots started appearing in 2017. 7 years of this bullshit. 7 years.
Decision to escalate the matter to the level that the TF2 community has, because the game has reached a state where some sort of progress must be instigated. And making Valve commit to either actually supporting the game that they take millions of dollars in profits annually from, or discontinue...
Yeah, 7 years, and it took them 5 to let one person work on the problem, only because they knew Deadlock was coming up, and they needed to make their currently offered titles functional, because who is Deadlock being made for? Deadlock is being made for Dota fans and TF2 fans, or hero shooter fans. Valve's got quite a big market in both of those things. It's made for MOBA fans and made for hero shooter fans. Gee, you'd think you want to appeal to those markets first by making the current games they enjoy functional before squirting out the next one.
Their involvement entirely and handing it over to the community. As far as I'm concerned...
Terrible idea, by the way. The game should never be handled by the community in any way. Terrible, terrible thing to let happen. No. No. You need a grounding force that is the company.
The game cannot persist in this weird limbo state where Valve pops their head in occasionally to sell us crates and keys, but otherwise turn a blind eye to this putrid infestation of bots that makes the base game unplayable. There needs to be...
And I am ashamed. I am personally ashamed that I was also apathetic towards this for as long as I was. I am personally ashamed that I kept giving Valve money through TF2 for years, while just kind of also turning a blind eye to all the bots in-game. Because I guess I became complacent, much like everyone else did. And just, it came to a point where we just knew it was never going to go away. And so we just dealt with the status quo. Like, for me, I just lived inside of community servers since 2018 for the most part. And it's like, and now looking back on all this now, like, I'm ashamed for spending as much money as I did leading up to all of this. Like, holy fuck. Yeah, we all just got used to it. It's not excusing it, but it's just Jesus. And eventually you wake up. It's why I cashed out. I sold nearly all my shit in TF2. Got rid of anything worth a high value, except for things I actually use. I pulled out about $16,000 from my inventory. I'm done. That's it. No more. Fuck. Like, not giving Valve another fucking dime through TF2 until I am given some kind of assurance that this isn't going to happen again.
Be changes made so that this game doesn't die with the current generation of players. But with all that being said, there are plenty of people out there who share the opposite sentiment. And obviously, as is the case with any loud, coordinated demonstration online,
No, I cashed out my TF2 inventory for about $16,000, yeah. Did I profit from the game? Fuck no. I got about maybe half the money back I put in the game.
there's always going to be a little bit of pushback from people just being contrarian or people
there was a lot of people like this. And I know you guys saw it too, where you had a lot of people like saying kill TF2, TF2 fans are entitled, yada yada yada.
Their timeline. And the Fix TF2 movement has undoubtedly produced its own fair share of backlash. There are plenty of folks out there who consider this whole thing to be a bunch of pointless whining. And a lot of people have used this backlash to talk about how TF2 fans and the TF2 community are annoying and entitled. And at face value, I can sort of understand how some people think this way.
Like, I don't see how anyone could think this way. Like, if they looked at TF2 and saw it the way it was, again, I'm probably gonna say it a million times before we're done with this video. If you looked at TF2 and saw it the way it was, infested with bots, unplayable, while being offered as playable, while still raking in millions for Valve, simply demanding for the game to be playable is the furthest thing from entitlement. And the only people who were saying this were people outside of the TF2 sphere or the bot hosters and cheaters themselves. Or people just trolling around, or people just trolling and fucking with people. Like, no one seriously thought this way if they actively played TF2.
When you consider the situation in a vacuum, it could seem bizarre that a bunch of angry gamers are rallying together to try to revive this 17-year-old title. So when confronted with this information, a lot of people's first reaction is to just
thank you. Standards and backbone don't equal entitlement.
Look at TF2 players and tell them to quit and go play something else.
Oh.
Or better yet,
I fucking hate that argument so much, man. I've never understood. So how many of you, I'm curious, how many of you have been told by someone, oh, just go play another game? How many of you have been told this in regards to TF2? I'm curious. How many of you have been told that? Yeah. Quite a lot of you. And so I ask the question, just ask them this question. Whenever you're asked that question, pose this as the retort. Where do I go? What other game am I supposed to play? What other game, like Team Fortress 2, is going to offer me the same experience or a similar experience and give me the same level of satisfaction? Tell me where I'm supposed to go. And if they tell you Overwatch, tell them to drink molten salt. I'm not going to go play Fortnite. I'm not going to go play Roblox. I'm not going to go play fucking Call of Duty, Nicki Minaj, Lil Rizzy filled garbage anime cat girl Modern Warfare. Fuck that shit. Not going to touch what Rainbow Six has become. Where am I supposed to go? There is nowhere else to go. I want to play this game. I want to play this game. Do you guys fucking hear that shit? Some guy in his fucking rice burner going down my fucking street. Piece of shit. Anyway. Where am I supposed to go? Pisses me off. I hate this argument.
tell them that Deadlock is the new TF2 and that they should go play that instead. And if this sentiment wasn't so common, I would think that people are literally trolling, but sadly, this is not a joke. This is how some people choose to contribute to this discourse. They really think
and thinking about this now again, mostly trolls, and then also people outside the TF2 sphere that had no idea what was going on.
Something so clever and profound by telling TF2 players to quit and go play something else. So envision
if their favorite game was suddenly rendered unplayable by hordes of cheating bots or some other means, and then they were posed with the same argument. Oh, just go play another game. Do you think they'd react the same way we would? Or would they go play another game? I suspect the former.
For today's video, I want to fixate on this specific point, which so many people seem to share. This canned response for people who are upset at TF2 being in an unplayable state. Telling them to just leave, bro, as if you are providing anything relevant to the conversation.
Nope.
So allow me to carefully explain how telling TF2 players to solve their problems by abandoning the game is a totally pointless and nonsensical argument. I've been trying to rack my brain as to how anyone could possibly consider this to be a legitimate rebuttal. And I've said—
So I think I know why. Because I'm curious. I've not watched the video after this point. I'm curious what he's going to say. I think the reason for this is because we have an entire generation of younger people who've only experienced video games as something to be disposable. As some whatever live service title of their choice. They go in, they consume whatever keys are dangled in their faces for like a couple of hours whenever the update's pushed out, or whatever new content update's pushed out. They don't have a real investment in something. They don't have a real investment in a franchise. They don't have a real investment in a certain type of game, or a character, or what have you. So they look at games like food. They don't look at games as like a hobby or something to enjoy. They look at it as like some kind of stimulation and then nothing more. I suspect that's the reason. Because we have an entire generation of younger people who grew up with games that were not meant to be something you invest yourself in beyond financially, right? Yeah, old, bad, good, new, keep consuming slop. Yeah, Richter says, it's a very selfish and childish perspective. I'm bored. It's time to replace it all. People who are attached be damned. Exactly. It's fucking stupid. It's like saying, oh, I like listening to, I don't know, Van Halen. Oh, Van Halen's old. Go listen to Nicki Minaj. No, fuck you. I like Van Halen.
Since come to realize that this just has to be the result of people being massively mistaken in a combination of 3 different areas. So first and foremost is misunderstanding.
Counterpoint, they would become their slop consumers, and any other slop game is just as good to them, so they would in fact just play. So yeah, that's the point I was trying to articulate, is they don't care. They don't care about the quality of the games because all they consume is all stuff that's the same shit. Like, Fortnite is not fun anymore, go to Overwatch, which just added whatever new racing car game mode they had. Okay, that's boring, I'm gonna go play Roblox that has like a hide-and-seek game or whatever. Yeah, that's a much better way to articulate the point that I was trying to make, yes. To the point they're not invested in anything. It's all the same sloppy garbage they keep gobbling up.
Why TF2 players are actually complaining in the first place. For some reason, there's this huge misconception among the critics of the Fix TF2 movement that the TF2 community is staging this whole protest because they're angry about a lack of content in the game. Like,
how many of you have seen that? Like, how many of you have seen someone complain about a lack of content in general in TF2? I've seen that quite a bit. I've seen a lot of people complain about a lack of content inside of TF2. Frankly, I don't think we need any more. That's my stance. We don't need more. But I've seen a lot of people complain about it. Like, we need new weapons, we need a new big update, we need this, we need that. We don't need more. TF2 has too much as it stands. So I understand someone looking at that and then misconstruing it for like that's what TF2 fans are demanding for. If they're totally insulated from what's happening inside of TF2. Years ago, but we're all pretty much content with what they have now. I don't know, man. I think more people are simply content in this moment because the game is playable right now, but I still see a lot of people that just want like new classes and new weapons and new subclasses and shitloads of new game modes, and people who want prop hunt, and people who want deathmatch, and what have you. It's like, my opinion, no, we don't need these things. but it certainly has toned down quite a bit simply because people can go back to playing the normal game again. And I think people are realizing, oh yeah, the game is just good. The game is just good, so I don't think we need more content. I think people are kind of falling back into that lane for the most part anyway. So, like, the only thing that I think we need is rebalancing some of the weapons we already have. We don't need more. Fix what we already have. Whatever that consists of, that's a different argument for a different day.
Like, this whole petition with hundreds of thousands of signatures is because people want Valve to add new weapons or something. Or that TF2 players are somehow upset that the game doesn't have mainstream attention. And maybe this all goes...
I've seen people argue that as well. Like, I've seen people think that TF2 fans are upset because the game isn't popular anymore. I shit you not. I saw people on Twitter saying that. Twitter isn't real. These aren't real people. But I have seen something type that on Twitter, which is wild.
Back to our national literacy crisis that I touched on a few videos ago. But the people who believe this have outed themselves as having a sub-first grade reading level. As in, they're unable to do the bare minimum of effort to actually understand what the hell is going on and what they're even talking about.
Yep.
And if any of you folks happen to be listening to this right now, let's set the record straight in a way that a first grader could understand. Team Fortress 2 is currently infested with a massive wave of bots that insta-kill you as soon as you leave the spawn room.
The fuck was that ragdoll?
Making the game unplayable on Valve public servers. Try to load into a Valve server right now, and you cannot play the game. These bots have been allowed to roam free and completely exploit the game because of Valve's negligence and failure to maintain their own servers and create a working anti-cheat.
Yes.
This whole protest, the whole Fix TF2 movement, comes down to removing these bots from the game and asking Valve to get off their ass and actually do work for a game that generates them tens of millions of dollars in revenue annually. Like, am I...
Let him finish.
Making myself clear enough? Does that clear the air for all of you people who are confused as to what this is actually about?
So, like, I would like to address his tone and his level of harshness. I love it. Because I felt the same way. I was equally, if not more, upset. And it kind of upsets me. I'm not blaming anyone, but it kind of upsets me that more people weren't this level of upset with Valve. And weren't like this level. And like, this isn't even like rage. Like, this isn't even like fury or just raw anger. This is just being visibly upset with bullshit, right? I'm amazed more people weren't this crass and weren't this direct about the state of the game. And kind of how milquetoasty a lot of people were kind of conveying their tweets and conveying their videos. I found that really bizarre. Like, it kind of felt corporate. Like, I don't know. It's like the weird... I guess it's how people talk in their YouTube videos. I don't know, but it all felt kind of like overly scripted and organized and shit, right? Like, it all for the good ends and good means, right? But like, you had people saying in their videos, and like people weren't being negative enough in regards to this. That's what I think. Previous movement should have been less peaceful from the start. I completely agree. Not that it would have done anything. Thing is, they weren't tiptoeing around the subject. Like, people were putting the problem at the forefront of the discourse, but the discourse was fluffy. Like, it was fluffy. Like, it was focused more on being a movement. Like, it's this movement. It's this big epic event. When really it just should have been the players doing the right thing and saying, hey, Valve, fix your shit. Like, it kind of goes back to you not needing YouTubers to tell you to, like, do that. But I guess a lot of people needed YouTubers to tell them to do that. I don't know. Anyway.
Because you couldn't click on a link and read a couple paragraphs of text explaining in very simple language why this is happening. Trust me, the TF2 community has accepted long ago that the game is in its final state, balance-wise. No one is waiting on bated breath for new content anymore.
Yeah.
We have long accepted that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
And anytime you hear someone bring up the idea of an update, they're probably referring to the heavy update that Valve promised all the way back in 2016 in Meet Your Match that they just never followed up on and never came out with any press release or news or blog post or anything
that was a thing.
saying that the update was canceled, which it realistically is. So again,
technically they didn't really promise it. That language was never used, but they did, the idea was put out there, right? But
when you're talking specifically about the heavy update, do not blame the players for wanting Valve to follow through on a promise they made. The blame, again, should be placed on Valve for not communicating sufficiently or even in the most simple modicum of information.
because Valve never communicates. I mean, that's just something that's been... They communicated a lot more in the early days, but like starting around 2012, 2013, like when CSGO started getting a lot bigger, that's when Valve's communication with the TF2 sphere, like even using the blog, really started slowing down.
That the heavy update is not coming out. No, instead they choose to just sit on their hands like they've been doing for the past decade and just kick the can down the road and not bother with it and hope that TF2 players keep buying keys. So again,
And shamefully, we did. For years. Shamefully, we did.
let me repeat myself loud and clear. If you believe that the Fix TF2 movement is about TF2 players wanting more content or wanting the game to be more relevant, then you need to shut your mouth, unplug your keyboard, and learn the facts. So with that obvious stuff out of the way,
I love this guy. I love this shit. This guy's great. Can I, thank you, Lemon, for having the level of tone that I think is required when approaching this subject, and idiots who think that TF2 fans are entitled for wanting the game to be functional. God, I love this shit. Yes.
Let's move on to misunderstanding number 2, and that is failing to understand the value that TF2 players get when they engage with the game, and failing to understand the dichotomy between the types of players that enjoy TF2 and the general gaming consumer base. So for the sake of argument here, we're going to have to draw a line between two distinct groups of gamers. The first group is how I imagine the vast majority of video game consumers engage with their products. And that is, you pick up a game, play it for a few days or a few weeks, get bored, and then pick up a new game. We'll call these people gaming tourists, because that's basically what you're doing. You're a tourist in each of these games.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I don't think that's true. I'm not saying that there's not a lot of people who do behave this way. Like we mentioned earlier, where you have people that are just surface level consumers that move on from slop game to slop game from slop game. They pick up a game, get bored, and move on. But there's also the notion that, hey, long time ago, that's how video games worked. You'd buy a game, you would play it for a finite amount of time, and then you put it down. Because you'd beat the game, you'd get your total satisfaction out of it, and then you would move on. Games before the live service era took off were meant to be finite pieces of content. So just because you pick up a game, put it down, and move on to the next one, doesn't mean that you're a tourist. However, a lot of people do what he says because they are tourists. There are so many people that just don't really ever get super invested in a game that they're playing, and they do it just to kind of fill their time or to have a little bit of fun, right?
So you're playing it a little bit, having a little bit of an introduction, a little sampling plate of the mechanics, and then the moment it stops working for you or stops being entertaining, you dip out and try something else. I think what most people fail to understand is that the recurring day-to-day player base of TF2 is not like this. Almost everyone you see hanging out and playing the game on TF2 servers are what I'm going to call gaming residents. They basically live in TF2. It's their home.
No, I do. I've been playing this game almost every day since like 2010, 2011. Because when I first was introduced to the game in like 2008, Buddy had it on the orange box on his fucking Xbox. I go to his house to play it. I'm like, man, this game looks fucking awesome. But I didn't have an Xbox, and I didn't have a fucking computer. I didn't have a laptop of my own until 2010 when I went into high school. And then I was able to finally install the game on my own little shitty laptop, my fucking potato laptop. And since that day, I've basically played TF2 on a daily basis all the way until now. I can confirm that I have lived in this game for over a decade. Because, like many things with TF2, if the game doesn't hook you, you're not going to stick around. And so TF2 has a lot of transients, right? Like, TF2 has transients. People kind of dabble in it for a little bit and then kind of move on to something else. They might come back a little bit, then move on to something else. And then also because the game is free to play, you have a lot of new people that kind of trickle and experiment and move on. The game is not retaining those people. The thing is, it wouldn't matter if I ran a poll here, but I would imagine that most people in my chat right now likely play TF2 at least once a week, if not twice a week or more, right? So, yeah, and the game is fun. The game is good. So, I've been playing since middle school, and I love it a lot. Hope things get better. Yeah.
It's why anytime you see anyone extol the greatness of TF2 and look at their profile, it's very likely that they have hundreds, if not thousands of hours in the game. And that is because TF2 is one of those games that is so mechanically rich that it's...
I've played this game for 30,000 hours. I would just like to say this game sucks. 70,000 hours on record.
capable of keeping certain people's attention for literally thousands of hours. And this is simply a fundamentally different way of engaging with video games than just...
And also because the game is good. Like, I would say... There's a double-digit amount of games that offer as much replayability that TF2 does. Either currently offered or, like, in history. And a lot of games have been made, so my numbers probably skewed. It's a very arbitrary cutoff for, like, what determines infinite replayability. Because you have people who still play Mario 64 and still speedrun 64 all the time. But I would say that there's a double-digit number of games, well-known games, I should say, that offer this much replayability just because of how fucking good the game was made. Very few games scratch that itch. Which is why the argument of, oh, go play something else, means nothing, because there's nowhere else to go. The TF2 SM cinematics are the reason why I downloaded Steam 11 years ago. There you go. Yeah, Minecraft used to be that way for me, because the thing is, the way you play Minecraft has very much changed over the long... So, like, Minecraft was a lot slower back in the day. Minecraft was a lot slower, so, like, the gameplay loop was much more drawn out, and also, there wasn't, like, a definite end, right? Like, you were always kind of in the same place, you'd fuck around in the nether, but you were always exploring your world, because that world was so much smaller to you. Because you didn't have all these means of transportation, you couldn't sprint, you were actually punished for like, traveling too far away from your home base, and it made it a risk. It made it too much of a risk to go too far unless you took serious precautions, you set up, like, multiple bases and checkpoints along the way for your travels so you don't fucking die. Minecraft was a much slower exploration, survival type of game, and that was so fun. And because of that, I sunk easily 8,000 hours, maybe 10,000 hours into Minecraft before 2013. That was like my primary game through high school. And then once I stopped caring about Minecraft, then I got neck deep in TF2 and logged the majority of my hours in TF2 from like 2012 through 2015. So. And then once once the pacing of Minecraft got super sped up, by all of the different shit they put in, the fact you can, like, enchant your shit. So, like, for example, the way Lucid describes it in his podcasts, like, in a day, like, in a couple of hours, you can get diamonds, you can go to the nether, get to the end, and kill the nether dragon. You just could not do that in older versions of Minecraft. It was possible, but, like, that shit also just didn't exist. because the game was meant to be slow and like, you know, and kind of and like mysterious. You're exploring around, surviving, but like for some reason they thought the game needed an end. Like, yeah, it's cute, it's clever. They made it a different like a different realm you can explore, like the end, but like the game didn't need an end. And for me, that's when the game started falling off. Like, oh, now they want this to be a game and with like with a finite end. I'm like, okay, now I don't really care about this game that much anymore, because like now it's like, oh yeah, there's this goal, and then once you achieve it, like, okay, now what? Achievements are slow paced. You got to get lapis and XP. It doesn't take that long. Like within a day, you can probably have a maxed out set of enchanted tools and armor. Like if you grinded mining and smelting, you could get, and killing mobs, you could probably get a shitload of enchantments very quickly. And lapis is fucking everywhere. And like even within a day, you don't even need enchanted shit to beat the end, like to beat the end dragon and what have you. But it's just, the game moves so much faster, way faster than it ever did. So, and like, and whenever I go back and play Minecraft, I feel like I have to intentionally make myself play it slowly, but the game kind of doesn't let you, because it throws so much shit at you so quickly with all the extra like blocks and different mobs and different shit they've thrown in. Like, you kind of have to play quickly, otherwise the game is like just ushering you along by like fucking you over by not like, you need to get this next thing, you need to get this next thing. You don't need to. You feel pressured to in order to like progress and like not die and shit like that. Just I don't like it. I don't like what the game has become. The old game was much more fun for me. And once and now it's really bloated. It's way too bloated with too much shit. So, yeah, really for me, the final update in Minecraft I really enjoyed was beta 1.8.1. And then everything after that, I kind of stopped caring about. Like, whenever they added abandoned mine shafts, I'm like, whoa, that's fucking cool. And then I checked out, because then it just started getting too much. So, bummer. But no, yeah, like, in terms of, like, the game being, like, long-term and really fun with a satisfying gameplay loop, that's TF2, and that's why people can sink so many hours into the game. So.
Just being a tourist. And let me clarify here that there's nothing wrong with engaging in game tourism. In fact, this is something that's to be expected when engaging with any other form of media like music or television or movies. It's totally normal to skip.
I wouldn't say music. I would say music is something that you like. You go back to the same artists, you listen to the same songs, you have like super fans of bands and musicians, and you always go back and listen to the same shit. You have your go-to records and playlists and things like that. But yeah, definitely movies and TV shows, you kind of pick it up, you put it down, you move on. And some movies like you really enjoy and you go back and watch over. Like, I've probably seen Interstellar 20 times. I fucking love that movie. I've seen The Martian probably 20 times. I've seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy 20 times. Because they're just good movies. I've seen the Matrix trilogy probably 20 times. Because I love these movies. I've seen all the Tarantino movies probably 10 times a piece. Because they appeal to you, and you go back and you really enjoy them, and you pick up on small things here and there that you didn't miss on, or you forgot about, that kind of thing. And anime does the same thing for me as well. I find myself going back and rewatching good series rather than picking up something new. Because frankly, a lot of new animes like just been not that great. So I go back and watch old shit that I really enjoyed. So
Around from artist to artist. And it's perfectly fine to do this with video games as well. Again, I'm not trying to paint this as some kind of illegitimate way to enjoy video games. But where video games differ from movies and TV and music is that each individual product has insane potential to engage the player in basically a never-ending experience. Games like Minecraft and Roblox and World of Warcraft offer such deep gameplay loops that I don't doubt that there are literally some people.
I wouldn't say Roblox offers a deep gameplay loop. It's just a giant sandbox. It's just a giant toy store. Where where Roblox is more of a game engine now, where it can be literally anything you want it to be. World of Warcraft definitely has a more definite gameplay loop as well. Same for Minecraft. I wouldn't compare Roblox to World of Warcraft or Minecraft, but his point still stands in that all of these titles offer infinite replayability for the people that enjoy them. So,
people out there who can play these games exclusively for the rest of their lives and not get bored. There are millions of players out there who could be classified as residents of Minecraft. They almost exclusively play Minecraft.
how many of y'all play Minecraft still? I'm curious. How many of y'all still play Minecraft? Like, on a regular basis play Minecraft? I'm curious. I want to know how much overlap there is with my audience and with my audience in Minecraft. Fairly mixed. I see some yeses, quite a few nos. Play older versions? Yeah, same here. 50-50. Last time I played regularly was 2014. Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, it seems like a mixed bag with people, but a good mix of yeses and nos. See, I used to fuck around with modded Minecraft a lot because when you modded the game, back when the gameplay loop was still slow, you would have a lot more time to enjoy the mods and progress through the mods. And like, but it didn't, like, for example, the old Tekkit mod pack with like equivalent exchange and shit, it took a long time to get to those end game items, but it still didn't hyper accelerate the gameplay loop where you still had like inherent levels of danger to expanding and exploring, and like the way these things would scale up and get harder and harder to craft and what have you. And you could do crazy shit with like pipes and machines. It's like literally, it was like fucking Lego blocks, man. You could build an infinite number of machines and shit. It was super fun. I love that shit. Probably the most fun I had playing Minecraft was the old Tekkit mod pack. Yeah, quarries. I like quarries that much. Quarries kind of was like, Well, you kind of needed to do that if you needed kind of the end game type of pipes and what have you, like sorting pipes and shit. So, yeah.
And this type of player, gaming residents, happen to make up the bulk majority of TF2's concurrent player base at any given time. There are people who just pick up the game and they don't play any other games. And that's how I was for a long time, so I certainly relate to how this is. I'm personally someone who takes great satisfaction in truly exploring the depth of a game's mechanics. So I pick up certain games and I just play them for a really long time, and I don't really want to play anything else. So with that being said, are you going to sit there and tell me that I'm enjoying games wrong? That this way of engaging with video games as artistic products is somehow invalid? And again, I'm not trying to invalidate the other.
I mean, yeah, simple as. And this goes back to the point that I was trying to make earlier that's now been explained much more clearly by Implement here. That you have surface level enjoyers of games that just can't perceive why someone would invest so much time into something they enjoy. Because they don't enjoy media that way. They don't get invested in anything, so they can't even contemplate or understand how someone can be truly invested in something for so long. Because they just can't comprehend that.
Alternative. If you enjoy playing 100 different games in a year, if you enjoy being a tourist, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to fault you or call you dumb for doing that. All I'm asking is that the same understanding can be granted to the other side. Players who consider one individual game to be their home. You must acknowledge that these people exist and that it's a perfectly reasonable way to enjoy video games. And so now that I've hopefully painted this clear distinction.
And that's really been a thing for a long time, even before video games. Like the one thing that comes to mind is Dungeons and Dragons and other games like card games, sports games, poker, where people would pick up their pastime, pick up that as their hobby, and they would sink themselves into it. They'd find other people that would enjoy the board game, they would find other people that enjoyed their sport, they would build communities, they would engage, make friends, you know, and just have a good time. And that's what people did every day. And then as video games became more popular, that took over the place of sports for a lot of people. That took the place of board games for a lot of people, where that became their recurring hobby. And then, of course, as the number of these things expanded, that facilitated people to kind of be the tourist, where they kind of move from one thing to another. So there's no real reason, there's no real need for anyone to kind of find their game, to kind of find their primary hobby they keep going back to, because a lot of people are spoiled for choice now. But this has been a thing for a very long time. Back when games had soul.
Two different
Indeed.
spheres of gaming in how people actually engage with the product. Do you sort of understand how telling the average TF2 player to just leave and go try something else doesn't really make a whole lot of sense? You'd think that someone who spends thousands of hours in a game probably likes it, probably considers it to be one of, if not the...
Oh, look at this. Oh my god, what a... Oh, look at the walls. There's a lot to process here. Oh, jeez. Oh, no. Just gonna let that roll through.
In their library. And that in engaging with one individual game for so long, that they have probably found their ideal gaming environment. And you're going to sit there and tell them to just leave when their favorite game of all time, the one they sunk thousands of hours into, gets disrupted by some external force that has nothing to do with the actual design of the game. And again, there are plenty of valid reasons to leave a game, and usually when they happen, people don't need to be told to do so. You could just...
Thank you. Generally, when something is wrong with the game, people don't need to be told that something is wrong. And that's what kind of baffles me when it came to the Save TF2 thing and Fix TF2 thing. That we needed a bunch of YouTubers to tell people to stick it to Valve. I kind of find that a bit crazy. It's my own fault that I didn't start speaking up about it sooner as well. But does anyone else find that shocking? Bizarre? Like, good God. Like, it just should have been something that more people were upset about, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Just lose interest, the game gets boring, or the publisher completely messes up balancing with some godforsaken patch that just throws everything out of whack, or they can introduce predatory monetization models, or the flat-out design of the game could just go downhill to where it doesn't resemble
what is this?
What
is this?
Picked up in the first place.
What game is this? What am I looking at? I feel... Is this Fortnite? Oh my god! I've never played Fortnite, so I have no idea what I'm looking at. Jesus fucking Christ, this is a mess!
None of these things...
It didn't even look like a video game to me! It was like I was looking at like an online store!
Apply to TF2. Trust me, anyone who gets bored with TF2, they leave probably before hour 10. They definitely don't...
Fortnite's trying to copy Roblox. Yes, because why would you ever need to play another game again when you can experience literally everything inside of the one title? Keeping all of those eyeballs fixated on their microtransactions and not other games' microtransactions.
Stick around into hour 3000, which is what the bulk of TF2's player base has under their belts. It's almost like maybe TF2 players enjoy TF2 and they want to keep playing it, and then all of a sudden some extremely disruptive force has come around and is ruining that experience. But yeah, just leave and go play another game. Something that can somewhat but not quite fill the void of a gameplay formula.
No, not even somewhat. Not like nothing can fill the void of TF2. Nothing. Simple as.
You know you already enjoy, but one that has been ruthlessly taken away from you. Because honestly, you don't have to tell me, because I did stop playing TF2, and I did go on to other games like Deep Rock Galactic. And trust me, it's fun. Great. It's a really good game, well designed, but I can't help but think that the only reason I'm here and not in...
Yeah, DRG is a really good game. I also love I also love Deep Rock Galactic. I need to play it more, man. DRG also has a really satisfying gameplay loop. But unfortunately, and when it came to that game for me, I feel like I got to experience the entire depth of said gameplay loop very quickly. Like, you have the overclocks and what have you that spice things up a little bit, but it's like, it's just not as engaging as TF2 for me.
In TF2 has nothing to do with how TF2 stopped being fun. I don't exactly consider being forced out of TF2 to be this liberating solution. I never think to myself, boy, am I glad that I followed Joe Schmo's advice on Twitter telling me to just leave. I don't take satisfaction or pride in that. In knowing that the game I loved and considered my favorite ever and put more time into than any other is in an unplayable state because of external factors from malicious parties. It feels to me like a tremendous tragic loss. A part of my life I really enjoyed that I don't exactly consider telling me to just leave.
What was that?
I don't take satisfaction or pride in that. In knowing that the game I loved and considered my favorite ever and put more time into than any other
What was
is in
that?
an unplayable state because of external factors from malicious parties. It feels to me like a tremendous tragic loss.
Huh? Chart of things that can lead to loss. Too many one class, bad weapon choice, too little of one class, picking fights you can't win. Sure.
A part of my life I really enjoyed that suddenly became inaccessible. And obviously, duh, you try to go play other stuff, but it's not the same. You're always comparing it to the richness
I know it's the Lost comic
that you once experienced in the ideal version of a game that once existed. And for the types of gamers and the tourist mentality, it's easy to just jettison any old game and then pick up another one.
Yes.
Big deal. But do you maybe sort of understand how for someone who spent years of their life in one game, that possibly losing that game is a little bit more meaningful than just renting a cartridge from Blockbuster and returning it a week later? Did you ever consider that maybe a little bit more of a personal commitment was made here, and that moving on to something new and enjoying it in the same way is a bit of a tall order? And as is the case in my own experience, when I stopped playing TF2, I basically stopped playing video games on Steam outright.
Interesting.
I went over a year without having Steam installed on my computer just because TF2 was ripped away from me. So stop trying to tell me that I can somehow get over the loss of my favorite...
So that implies that he stopped playing TF2 because of how bad the bots got. That's pretty bad. That just lets you know how bad the problem got, that for some people, that even community servers weren't enough, they just left the game altogether. I wonder what he thinks about Meet Your Match.
Game by playing a
I wonder what Lemon thinks about the Meet Your Match update.
MOBA. They're always trying to get you to play another MOBA, as if that is even close, remotely close to the ballpark of what I'm looking for in a game. I know what I'm looking for.
Oh god, I personally don't understand the appeal of MOBAs. It's not the kind of game for me. I don't like micromanagement simulators. It's just not my kind of game. Not big.
Looking for.
Not big on it.
I played it for 10 years, and I was fine and content with how it was, and then it got ruined. Could someone explain to me how exactly it's entitled to request that a game runs as advertised?
I mean, that is the only thing that needs to be said. Like, that's it. This is the upteenth time I've said it, but that's all that needs to be said. The game is offered as playable. It should be playable. That is it.
Because that's pretty much all TF2 players are asking for. Is that really so unreasonable? Does it really annoy you that people are asking for this very simple request? For the experience to match up with the one people know is true in their heads. Like, are you seriously going to call people annoying for asking for that? Why? Because the game is old? You mean to tell me it's something...
God, I hate this fucking argument. I hate the argument that just because a game is old, that you just shouldn't play it anymore. That, like, TF2 is this wild outlier in video games. It's like, it's this ancient game, therefore you have to move on. When there are so many other titles that are of a comparable age, if not older, that are still offered and playable. It's insane. Counter-Strike's been going since 2012. At least CSGO moving on into CS2. Of course, you had CS Source, 1.6, what have you. World of Warcraft's been going on for 20 fucking years. So many other games have been going on for a ridiculous amount of time. And then for some reason, whenever TF2 is mentioned, people say, lol, game old, move on. Wild. Overwatch is approaching a decade. Think about that. I don't count Overwatch 2 as a new game. It's the same game, but worse. Overwatch has been going on for almost a decade. Holy moly.
That can't be done
Hate that
because the
argument.
game is old? I mean...
League of Legends, 2 years younger than TF2. Yeah, old equals bad. That goes back to what was said earlier. Old is bad, old bad, new good.
Not like a bowl of fruit. This is a digital product that doesn't spoil. As long as you have the functional hardware, the experience should more or less be a one-to-one match to how it always was. It doesn't matter how
Soulful 4x3. Oh.
old it is.
Look at this.
That's a total
Look at
non
this.
sequitur point.
Oh, it takes
and
me
I think
back.
this is the part where
I feel
so
young
many
again
people
looking
get
at
hung
that.
up on the most. And this brings me to reason number 3, why people are fundamentally mistaken. And that's that a lot of people haven't caught up to the responsibilities of modern game developers and their relationship with the customer. People look at the TF2 situation, and because it's sort of an old game, they apply old standards to how this is supposed to work out, as if the video game industry isn't totally different today in how it fundamentally functions as a business.
I don't know if I've seen anyone approach TF2 from this mentality. Not saying that it doesn't happen, it probably does, but I don't think I've ever seen someone approach this whole discourse with that argument. That just because the game came out in a different time, that people are applying old industry standards to its maintenance. Perhaps that is a bit of a side effect. A lot of people still have this older, glorious vision of Valve in their heads. Maybe that's what he's getting at, where you still have a lot of Valve apologists, a lot of people still holding Valve on this pedestal, like Valve can just do no wrong, that everything they do is gold, and wherever they walk, the road is gilded with gold, what have you. Maybe that could be, this could be it. I'm not sure. Crazy how much gaming companies get away with. If any other industry like the car companies pulled the same stuff, they'd be sued to no end. Yes. It is crazy what video game companies get away with. They get away with a lot of bullshit.
So when it comes to the relationship between video game publishers and consumers, there's an unspoken social contract of sorts, where since you're engaging with a digital product that doesn't spoil, at least in explicit terms, that when you purchase that product, you are free to enjoy it in perpetuity. For instance, someone who bought Guitar Hero for the Wii, they can
I feel like this is just going to boil down to you will own nothing and be happy. I feel like that's where this is going. Where now you have, the subscription-based models, you have digital copies that you don't actually own, companies shutting down games after they fail and then moving on to whatever new product they put out, despite people enjoying previous games they've released. I feel like that's where this is going. You will own nothing and you will be happy. But yes, it's the whole problem of digital ownership is that you technically don't own what you've purchased if you have it digitally. You don't have a physical copy of this thing. It exists in some unknown ambiguous server hosted away from your physical location that you have absolutely zero control over. Unless you somehow manage to preserve an installation of that game on your own hardware, isolated from any way that the game company can get at it and shut it down, then you don't actually own this thing. Same for any music or movies or shows that you stream. Unless you have a copy of that downloaded to some hard drive somewhere, or some drive that's isolated from these companies being able to get at it, you don't actually own these things.
expect to dig that disc out of their closet, put it back in their Wii, and enjoy more or less the same experience they remembered. And aside from
Guitar Hero 3 was the best Guitar Hero, by the way.
obvious hardware defects, the core game, in theory, should be a one-to-one recreation. The game itself will not have mutated over time into something unplayable and unrecognizable. This is the underlying and unspoken...
Yeah, I've heard a little bit of what Accursed Farms has been doing in regards to games as a service. I did hear a little bit about this. I'm not fully informed, but from what I've heard, there's some kind of, I don't know, like a petition or something going around in Europe where they're trying to stick it to the game company about shutting down a game that was previously offered. I don't know much more beyond that. And and technically it's illegal. Like if they offer a video game to be purchased and then the developer pulls that game and just doesn't let people play the game anymore, that is illegal because they're revoking a product that people have purchased. I think that's what's happening. I'm not very informed on it. Yeah, let's hope it carries over to America. It would certainly set the precedent, that's for sure.
agreement that a customer and a corporation.
Yeah, we want EU to introduce legislation to make it illegal. I mean, yeah, it's a shady business. It is a shitty business practice to sell something and say, "Oh, sorry, you don't actually own this thing. Thank you for the money." Yeah, games as a service rather than games for ownership.
Engage with when a transaction is made. And back during the time when video games were sold as individual products, this whole idea was a lot more simple to understand. You'd pay for the game upfront, be given a physical copy
You own it
in your possession.
That's it.
And once you stuck the game in your console, the experience you got was the experience you had and the one you owned forever. There was no patches, no DLC, no digital copies, no season pass, battle pass, whatever. The product you own would remain in its state for as long as you bothered to engage with it, with the only extenuating factor being the physical mechanical lifespan of your hardware or the integrity of the disc or cartridge.
Yes.
And that was what video games were for primarily the first 40 years of their existence. But very quickly, the business model, the underlying way in which game studios made their money was completely overhauled over the last 15 years to where when you look at how video games are actually created today,
why make new game when you can sell the same title for over a decade? All video game companies need to do nowadays is strike on that cash cow. Strike on that golden goose that will just keep laying eggs for them. They hit it big on that one title, that's all they need, and they can milk that until Kingdom Come. And so by definition, by doing that, and the point he's getting at, is that the experience you're buying into is constantly evolving because they're having to put more shit into it that people can buy to keep people playing the same game over and over again, instead of just making a new game that people are interested in. You're seeing the same thing happen with like movies and television shows. Why bother creating something new, creating something interesting for people to engage in, when you can simply recycle existing established intellectual properties that people already know and are willing to engage with and just squirting it out again without changing anything, or completely bastardizing it? Instead of making new characters, new media, and things that people will consume, it's already all there for you, and it's simply cheaper for the companies to do this because they don't have to make something from scratch. They don't have to pay writers. They don't have to pay character designers. They just use the same shit over and over again. Looking at you, FIFA.
It is completely different and operating under a completely different set of standards, where the object that video game developers are selling has largely shifted from a product to a service. As much as people have been dragged kicking and screaming into this new nightmarish capitalist reality, this is the nature of what games are now. And as much as you don't like it, and as much as many people wish they could return to the old days when things are more simple, you have to face the facts that this is what most AAA games are now. People now pay for the games.
I think we can go back. We can go back to the physical copy age. Nintendo still does it, mostly. You buy a cartridge, you plug it into your Switch. There's no games for PlayStation anymore. I feel like Xbox is completely dead in the water. I feel like Nintendo is the only major company out there still where buying physical copies of games is still somewhat normal. Like, the last physical copy of a game I went to buy was fairly recent. I drove to Best Buy, and I bought a physical copy of Metroid Dread. Like, I couldn't... And before Metroid Dread, I couldn't remember the last time I bought a physical copy of a game that just released. I think it was Super Mario Galaxy 2 was the last physical copy of a game that I purchased. Oh my god, was it really that long? Let me think about that. Yeah, I think Super Mario Galaxy 2 was the last physical copy of a game that I purchased before I went out and I got Metroid Dread. Crazy, isn't it? Ay, ay, ay.
Reduce the revenue to get these games made in a totally different way than they used to. And with that comes a totally different set of expectations for what exactly game studios are supposed to provide. And the underlying...
No, yeah, and fuck Nintendo for taking down emulators. If you're not allowing people to play your old titles and forcing them to go back to old hardware that's either obsolete, doesn't work, or breaks down very easily, or just not being able to source physical copies of the game, allow people to emulate your fucking games, or offer the emulation service yourself. If these things just aren't there at all, what do you expect people to do? It's Nintendo's policy of, no, don't play, only remember. Don't play, only remember. Fuck Nintendo.
Social contract between the publishers and the consumers has changed as well. Because if you're going to sell me now this idea of a game being a service, you as a developer kind of have to stand by that and actually service the
Dog! Hey!
game. People like to point to the release date of Team Fortress 2 and see everything that came out around it, back when the video game industry still sold most of their games as products, and they assume that
you could walk into the store and buy a physical copy of the Orange Box and install it on your computer. That's the era that TF2 came out in. And most people playing TF2 today probably did not grow up in this era.
TF2 should be pigeonholed into that same format. That is certainly not what it would wind up becoming. Because for the vast majority of TF2's lifespan thus far, the game has unequivocally been treated as a service.
Yes.
Stop me if you've heard this
Starting
one before.
as soon as the Man Economy update dropped, that was it. Became a game as a service.
A free-to-play game with loot boxes and in-game economy and microtransactions with skins and cosmetics, continually receiving new updates and balance changes long after its initial release.
Isn't it crazy how TF2 really, it didn't create the live service model, but it absolutely perfected it and spearheaded it for literally all other game companies. Isn't it insane that Team Fortress 2, the amazing game that it is, planted the ideas of these awful gaming business practices in so many other developers' minds? Valve did it first. Fucking wild.
Sheesh, it sure sounds like I'm describing pretty much every modern game today. But take a wild guess at which game served as...
Yeah, I'll do a poll right now. Let's do a poll. So let's close, do a new poll. Poll start. Oh, let me have to close this one. Hold on. End this poll. Start a new one. Did you grow up with physical copies of games? Yes or no? Yes. No. I should say primarily. Why is this not letting me create my poll? Thank you, YouTube. You suck. Can I create a poll, please? Start a poll. And we want yes, no. Well, YouTube polls have just decided to not work for some reason. So I'm going to ask my chat directly. Did you grow up primarily using physical copies of games? I don't know why the YouTube poll system isn't working. YouTube sucks. A lot of yeses. Damn, a lot of you guys are older. I wonder what the average age of my chat is. I'm curious. I wish I could run a poll, but I can't because YouTube sucks. Let me try this one. Curious to see. Hold on. Oh, now the poll option works. All right, let's do this. What is your age what is your age bracket? Curious. Let's see where people are. We'll let that pan out for a few minutes.
The guinea pig to prove that these revenue methods were actually viable and successful for the gaming industry.
Yeah,
People like
there
to
you
call
go. There it
TF2
is.
the last boomer shooter, but it can far more accurately be described as the first live service game. So yes,
It wasn't the first. It definitely that title goes to MapleStory. MapleStory was probably like the first really big live service. Then you had World of Warcraft kind of following up, and then you had TF2 following in for that. But I would say MapleStory really kicked off the idea of microtransactions, gotcha, constantly keeping a game alive. Yeah.
It is an old title, and it came out alongside a bunch of other stuff that we associate with different standards and different expectations
MMOs
as to how
in general,
we engage
yeah.
with them as a consumer. But there's no getting around it. TF2 just got under the door of the other side, the present day format of the video game industry where everything is a service. And just because its actual release date was...
And TF2 was made to be a game that wasn't live service. The game was made to be fun first and not as a service, not as some shitty esports slop designed in to rake as much money in as possible. And that's why to this day, the game is still fucking fun, because at its core, it was made to be enjoyable. It was made to be enjoyed by as many people as possible. That's why it stood the test of time. The game is just that good. Despite all of the awful shit Valve has done with this game, from its negligence to meet your match, it has managed to resist all of this because the game is good. And players are allowed to host their own fucking game servers, which many games do not let you do anymore because they want to control your entire experience. Because if players are allowed to make their own servers, well, gee, they could mod in their own cosmetics. They could create whatever experience they desire. Well, we can't have that. We got to make sure that they use our experience. So they use our microtransactions. They buy our microtransactions. They use our hats, because if they have their own servers, they can bypass all of this. We have to normalize the experience, so they keep giving us money.
So long ago doesn't change that fact. TF2 has operated and has earned the bulk majority of its revenue for Valve as a live service game. So as to how we so long ago doesn't change that fact. TF2 has operated and has earned the bulk majority of its revenue for Valve as a live service game.
Yes.
So I don't want to hear how TF2 deserves to be hung out to dry just because it's old. When the nature of the game is a service, I damn well expect that the service is maintained and held to a level of consistent quality. Like, imagine going to an AT&T...
Empleman. Buddy, do you know that demanding quality in your content means that you want workshoppers to die? I hope you know that. You have now sparked a war with all people who make content for this game, and they will now come knocking down your door and demanding for your penance. They will demand self-flagellation. They will demand public what? Public mockery of you. They will demand that you lie prostrate before them and beg for their forgiveness, because you demanded quality inside of TF2. I'll have you know, sir, that makes you a bigot, that makes you a racist, that makes you a Nazi, that makes you a transphobe, that makes you a homophobe. It means you want all minorities to die. It means you love saying the N-word. It means you love hanging out with literally Hitler himself. How dare you? I hope you know that you've done this to yourself. How dare you?
Customer complaining that their cell service is down and saying to them, well, why are you whining about a 100-year-old company? Do you have any idea how nonsensical that sounds?
The joke.
This is what
Relax.
people are doing right now with TF2, saying that people should just abandon it because it's old. Oh, how convenient it would be for developers to just set it and forget it like they could in the old days. I find it so offensive that Valve wants to adhere to this double standard, where in terms of their developer labor, they still want to treat all their games like their products, despite the fact that all of their salaries are being propped up from the record-setting revenue of converting all these titles into services, and yet they don't want to put in the bare minimum effort to maintain them. If you wanted to just sit on your ass and not have to upkeep older titles, here's an idea. Maybe you should have just kept them as finished products to begin with. But no, as Valve, we can simultaneously create this revenue design philosophy that utterly...
And there is a subsection of TF2 fans that believe that the game should have just died long ago. That, like, pre-2010, the game should have just ended there before they started pushing it to a live service format.
ruined the video game industry, while still patting ourselves on the back and going on and on about how much integrity we have and the quality of our games. It's such an amazing, whimsical thought in your head to have until you actually play them and realize that so many of Valve's most famous titles at this point are completely neglected to the point where it's not even worth playing them.
Is Dota fine? How's Dota doing? I don't touch MOBAs, so I have no idea. How's Dota doing? Is Dota fine? Because I feel like Valve prioritizes Dota quite a bit. How do you cheat in Dota? I know you can bot in Dota, but how do you cheat in Dota? Info hacks? Okay. But yeah, Dota's fine. Counter-Strike is not. Counter-Strike's not. So there's that one for you. TF2 is not. So there's that one. That's kind of it. Those are the 3 games that Valve offers. Dota, Dota, Counter-Strike. Dota is the only game that gets the bare minimum, yeah, because pretty much everyone who originally worked at Valve liked MOBAs. So of course it's going to have special treatment. Left 4 Dead, it doesn't really count as a live service game. It does have its own servers, so yeah, there's that as well. The Left 4 Dead 2 fans, all 2 of us, yeah.
Because the gameplay experience has been turned into garbage. And I love how Valve just tries to hand-wave this idea of putting in actual maintenance to their live service games by writing it off as treadmill work. Oh no, you see, we can't use our billions of dollars of resources and some of the most talented game developers in the world to combat these basement-dwelling bot hosters, because that would just create this perpetual cycle of work for us. And you know, we don't want that. We don't want to make our workers that we pay.
I mean, what else? Like, what else needs to be said, right? Like, I have nothing to add. This is just factually correct. It's bullshit. It's just stupid. Like, nothing else needs to be said here.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in salary to actually do work. Geez, it sure seems like Valve is content with having their player bases perpetually
Gen Z work ethic. Yeah, it does seem like a lot of younger folks just don't want to work. I do notice that. A lot of younger folks just don't want to work.
Generate them revenue and perpetually play their live service games. But when it comes to perpetually having to maintain these infinite money machines, all of a sudden that's too much to ask for. Because I'll tell you what, when it comes to what the revenue of live service games have mutated into today, derived primarily from Valve's original philosophy that they implemented in Team Fortress 2. You look at stuff like exclusive timed skins and battle passes that basically require the time commitment of a full-time job to actually unlock everything in.
Yes.
It definitely feels like...
That is something that's one main thing I really don't like about new games and engaging with new games. Because, like, So, controversial. I like War Thunder. War Thunder is a fun game. I've recently picked up Rocket League for the first time ever. I've been enjoying Rocket League. I happen to enjoy Fallout 76, but if I ever want to engage with any of this new content, I have to sink in so much time into these games to even access any of it that I have no time for anything else that I want to enjoy or do. And that's really fucking frustrating. I personally despise when all content that affects gameplay is not offered to you immediately. That I just think is bullshit. That's why And then, like, if I want any cosmetics or any dumb shit like that, then it's like, I don't bother. I just want to play the game, right? Like, and if I want access to these things, oh, sorry, you can't do that unless you grind for hours and hours and hours. And so if there's, like, one cool skin or, like, a paint that I want in War Thunder, sorry, you can't have that. There was, like a cool set of wheels that I want in, I don't know, in Rocket League. Sorry, I have to sink in a shitload of playtime just to get the set. Can I just buy it outright? So, like, I don't know. I think the whole Battle Pass model is fucking bullshit. I hate it.
Like, the gaming industry has been content with putting the consumer on a treadmill. But when you
Yes, because when they do that, they have the forever customer. They lock you in. They will never go play anything else because they will grind your microtransactions and your microtransactions only. It is a genius model that makes people treat gaming not as recreation, but as routine. Because when it's routine, you just do it without thinking. And that earns them money.
Ask those very same expectations out of the developers responsible for all this. All of a sudden it's too much. You just can't handle it. It's just
Yes, send me fan art. I like fan art.
too much work to update VAC and blacklist obvious spin bots who kill players instantaneously from across the map. Something that community server plugins
I have to get my dailies. Yes, again, all routine. The only thing that I do dailies in is Blue Archive, because I like my waifus. That's all I care about. And those dailies take 10 minutes. And I do that before I go to bed, so I can get ready for the next set of anime ladies. Otherwise, I don't care. Those are the only dailies I engage with.
Long since figured out how to do. It's just
That's
too
it.
much work for Valve, the company that actually collects all the money and extorts and exploits all the.
If you have fan art, you can shoot me on Discord, because I don't really use Twitter. Like just in general, if people want to contact me, Discord's probably the best way.
Goodwill from this game. And I guess what is even more shocking to me is that the general gaming consensus is that, oh yeah, this problem is too hard to solve. You're just asking for something completely unreasonable.
And isn't it hilarious that they did it? One guy did it over the course of 2 years. Imagine if they had 2 people working on it, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people working on this issue the moment it started. How much more quickly they could have addressed the problem.
Valve engage in this complex task that community servers have already figured out. Oh, but no, the game's too old. It's a lost cause. You should just move on to the next game, of which there is none. Guess what, folks? Another consequence of live service games, they don't tend to make very many sequels. And at this rate, I wouldn't even want a sequel to TF2. Judging by how Overwatch 2 and Counter-Strike 2 have gone, I don't really think that's the solution we're looking for. But so many people out there act like it's just natural and correct to move on to the next game. Just move on over, forget what you had before. And yeah, maybe when the franchise model is something like Halo, where it's usually built on the same engine and the next game only adds more stuff to the new game, then I can sort of understand waiting until the next one comes out.
But like, even Halo kind of went to shit. Like, I stopped caring after Halo 3. I looked at Reach for a few minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then I just kind of stopped caring about Halo. I don't know about you guys, but...
move over. But again, we're comparing apples and oranges here, because if the original Halo just came out today in today's gaming environment, they wouldn't have had to break the game up into different sequels. They just would have patched all the stuff in over time into a singular live service. And since when have we collectively decided that this practice of simply leaving an older game for dead and shutting it down for an inferior sequel is actually a good practice? Is actually consumer-friendly and ethical.
Thing is, I don't think anyone thinks that. I think the people that those game companies are appealing to just don't care. Because the people that they're appealing to are the people that he labeled as the tourists. The ones that are just going to engage with the new game for a short period of time, drop it, and then move on to the next thing. Because game developers know they can get away with doing below the bare minimum, because all they have to do is push out a new title, get it hyped up a little bit, or perhaps use a pre-established IP like Call of Duty or Battlefield or Halo or something, like it's the new Battlefield game or it's the new Call of Duty game. All they have to do is slap that title on there, and then people are going to spend the money on it, even if the game is in an unfinished state. Because they don't care. Because they'll play it for a few days, go, that kind of sucked, and then they'll move on. That's who these game companies are appealing to. They're not appealing to people like me, who invest a lot of time into a game to get the maximum amount of enjoyment out of it. They're appealing to people that touch it for a short period and drop it and move on. The tourists, as he says. That's why they can get away with it. And the people like us, who sink in a lot of time into a game to get the maximum level of enjoyment, look at that business practice and can very easily acknowledge that, yes, that is bullshit and should not be happening. But for the other form of gamer, they just don't care. They don't condone it. They just don't really recognize it because of how they consume their media.
most gaming consumers just some kind of battered spouse with no standards or self-respect that they just automatically fork over money for a new game even if it's complete shit? I mean, hey, look what kinds of games have been putting out annual releases for the longest time. FIFA and Madden. And
FIFA's such a joke, dude. They just recycle the same, not only the same engine, but literally everything one for one, and then just put it on a disc and then sell it again. And people fucking buy it. People keep fucking buying these fucking FIFA games. It drives me insane. Who plays them? Who plays FIFA? Who plays fucking FIFA in here? I want to make fun of you. I want to mock you for playing FIFA. Who plays FIFA? You, Gawks10, I'm gonna mock you for playing FIFA. FIFA is not fun. Fuck you. Don't buy these games. Stop it. Go outside. Go outside. Go get ice cream. Go to your nearest ice cream shop. Get a cone. Get a cone. Get just a cone, like a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Bask in the sun and reflect. Reflect on your actions for buying a FIFA game and really digest not just the ice cream, but the games you've been consuming. Think about what you've been doing by playing FIFA and buying these games willingly. If I'm gonna make fan art, how big should I make the boobs? Well, all you gotta do is go look at my Twitter feed, and that should give you a rough idea. Please, no kids, go look at that. That's all I gotta say. If you're a kid, don't look at it. Don't play FIFA! Young people don't want to work because it costs a lot of time, stress, and experience in exchange for pitiful wages. Little incentive equals little drive. Thing is, man, I don't disagree with you entirely, but at the same time, if you want to get anywhere in life, you gotta put in time. Like, it's just not gonna be handed to you. Like, I understand that there's dwindling prospects, especially in America, for, like, you have wages that are technically going up, but the dollar goes a lot less further. So your money is worth less. The chances of you being able to buy a home and live on your own keep going down and down. And the older you get, the less the more time and work you have to put in to even be able to be self-sufficient. It's like, I understand that, but at the same time, if you want to reach self-actualization and get some kind of meaning out of life, you gotta put in the time. Get a career, get a job, something, and that'll make you live your best life. Or you will own nothing and be happy. You gotta work to eat, man. You gotta work to eat. You gotta work to put clothes on your back. It's just how the world works, man. You gotta do it. And hey, man, stress sucks, but that's just having a job. Just gotta do it.
Every single
I
year,
agree that it sucks, but you have to do it.
without fail, I constantly get these videos in my YouTube recommended of people complaining about whatever the new Madden or FIFA is. And every year, it seems like the game just keeps getting worse. But do people stop paying for them?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Do all these annual episodes of complaining actually amount to any real sacrifice or action by the consumer base? Oh.
Real sacrifice or action by the consumer base. Gee, it's almost as if though there was a word floating around that so many people were allergic to in the TF2 sphere. I wonder what that word was. Huh. I wonder why they were so allergic to that word. Maybe it's because that would require a little self-sacrifice to get what you wanted. To make the company do something. I wonder what that word is. The word is boycott. Stop giving the company your fucking money. It's not that hard. And he points out a problem that TF2 had where people would happily complain until Kingdom Come, but they just can't stop buying the fucking keys. They can't stop gambling.
Oh no, they just keep going back to buying the next one and paying for microtransactions and loot boxes and the My Ultimate Team or whatever the hell jacked up game mechanics these people have put into these
How do you do microtransactions in a sports game? Do you like gamble for players?
franchises.
Like
And
trading
last
cards? Like you open like a card pack, you get a certain player? Is that how it works?
time I checked, all these games are still making record profits. And you have to wonder
Awful.
that maybe if the FIFA player base and the Madden player base put up a little bit more of a stink rather than just routine lip service.
Like, what's the fun? Like, and I assume, like, I don't know how these games work, all right? I know nothing. I assume you're gambling for the better players, and if you have better players, your matchups mean you have a higher chance of... Is there matchmaking in FIFA and the football games? Huh? How does it work? Because, like, if you get, like, the best players, you're always going to win, and then what's the point? Is there, like, some kind of min-maxing you can do? Like, you can, like, pay for better stats? Like, you pay for, like, a super jump and, like, a mega kick, and then he can, like, juggle the ball with his hands because it's, like, magically allowed or something? How does it work? You play for better player status and better AI? How is that fun? How is that fun? How is it fun to pay for better AI? What does that even mean? What? You're not even playing the game. Just like it's fun to watch? Just go watch a soccer game. What do you mean it's fun to watch? You're watching Wales pay for the best team. Okay, to be fair, it's not any different than real soccer, but you're watching Wales pay for the best players in a video game, and it's your own fucking... Just go watch a real soccer game. Again, not that it's any different than than the real world, because countries pay for the best players, but it's cheaper. I don't know, man. I think I'd rather have the experience of a real soccer game than playing FIFA.
at how the new game
Yes, I know. American, we call it soccer. It's called football. I know. FIFA looks like one of those games from a television show that doesn't exist IRL. It does. Sports games have actual slot machines in them. Like, no joke, it's blatantly just a casino and the games are still rated E. Counter-Strike, TF2, have the same shit. It's all gambling. And it's marketed towards kids. It's crazy.
game sucks and it's the worst ever. Maybe if you guys actually showed some solidarity like the Fix TF2 movement, that you wouldn't have to be used as EA's annual doormat. And for all you consumers out there who enjoy these live service games, you don't have to like TF2, you don't even have to like the fans, but you should probably be paying close attention to what exactly happens with this whole little movement here. Because if you happen to be a fan of one of these free-to-play microtransaction games, I've got news for you.
You're next. Watch him say that.
You are looking into the future. What, you think
Yeah,
you're a little...
you're next. When it happens to their games, because it will inevitably happen to their games, they're gonna go through the same shit.
competitive MOBA shooter with a battle pass is not gonna...
Hey man, TF2 is 18 plus. Do you think that really prevents youngins from playing the game? No, because parents are shitty and let their kids engage in M-rated games. I watched a YouTube video where you had a bunch of, like, you know, mid-teens, like 14 to 17-year-olds getting addicted to gambling in Counter-Strike. Fucking crazy.
gonna meet the same fate as TF2? You don't think the developer is just gonna wait?
My parents did not let me play mature games. I had good parents. They didn't let me play mature games. However, I've had a workaround by playing Madness Combat Interactive, the Flash game, on Newgrounds. So I had my workarounds, but they would not let me buy, or they wouldn't buy me mature games. But the internet was out there. I had my fix with Thing. I had my fix with Madness Combat Interactive. I had my ways of getting my dose of violence.
Wake up one day and
I had my hentai keepy uppy games where you had to bounce the fucking ball around to see a pair of poorly drawn tits. Yeah, that's how it was. The good old days, man. That's how it was.
start sitting back and collecting all the money while not putting in the bare minimum effort of keeping the game functional? I'd consider Fix TF2 to be very much in your interest. Because the present day situation of TF2 is going to be the future of your game.
Yep.
And you're already starting to see it happen with stuff like Counter-Strike, a property that makes Valve 100 times the amount of revenue that TF2 does. Because the thing to understand about TF2, this old game, is that it's one step ahead of everything else that followed it. TF2 set the precedent for the modern gaming revenue model.
Yeah, CSGO earns Valve billions of dollars a year. So just to compare, TF2 on a regular update probably earns Valve anywhere from $10 to $20 million. It's a wide range, but it's in the it's in the 8-figure range, low 8 figures. But when it comes to Counter-Strike, in 1 month, they earn about $200 million from just cases. No, not cases, just key sales. Just the key sales in 1 month earn Valve hundreds of millions of dollars. So in 1 year, just from key sales, this doesn't account for all the other stuff you can buy inside of the game and all the community market transaction fees. Counter-Strike earns Valve billions and billions of dollars. It's one of the most profitable games ever made. Largely because it's a casino.
Now, with this whole fixed TF2 movement and the state that the game is in now, you better believe that they're still setting precedents. And while we can't go back and prevent the live service cancer from infesting the video game industry, we can take action now.
So why are we defending TF2 and not boycotting? I am. My thing is like, I don't know. I don't know what's coming next. We don't know. We've been without bots for a month. That's not good enough. Like, I need like a year. I need like a solid year of nothing before I'm like, okay, I'm pretty comfortable. But until I see that, nope. I'm keeping my money in third-party sites. I'm not giving a cent through Valve, through their fucking game. Not doing it. No, of course you can still play TF2. Just don't spend money. Don't give Valve money through the game. Simple. We're not getting past 2 months. Just remains to be seen. I don't know. Hey, off topic, but how can I submit stuff for your eventual workshop review stream? I'd like some genuine criticism on my war paints. So whenever I do my workshop review streams, I have people join the Discord, linked in the description below for people curious. I announce in that Discord when I go live and when I upload a video. But when I do workshop streams, I have a chat in there that's called workshop links. And if you want me to look at something, I ask people to paste links in that chat whenever I go live. It's kind of luck-based because people flood the chat very quickly. So if you want me to look at something, you got to put it in there whenever I go live. So that's how it goes. Is there a fan art archive anywhere? Not really publicly. It's out there. Just got to find it. Anyways, let's finish the video.
Now, to send a message to developers that if they're going to convert their games into these shitty perpetual services, the least they can do is maintain those services. So I hope through all this you've come to an understanding of why TF2 players aren't quite ready to let their game go just yet.
I mean, before his addendum at the end, really good video. Like, just, I completely agree with it. He basically repeats the exact same sentiments I've had for a long time now. So, just really good video. Very good. Like, I 100% agree with everything he said. Simple. Yeah, here we go. So looking at this poll, it seems like the majority of people are in the 18 to 24 age bracket, 61%. 19% of you are 24 to 30, 4% over the age of 30, so my age bracket. And then under 18, 17% of you. So there you go. Most of you are in the 18 to 24 age bracket.
So originally the video was supposed to end here, but as we were editing it, there has been an interesting development regarding the fixed TF2 movement. And that's that, to many people's surprise, Valve actually did something. And this wasn't like that lip service response they gave back in 2022. No, this was real, tangible action. So as of around the 27th of June, I believe, there was a massive ban wave in Team Fortress 2, where it appears that the vast majority of bots have been removed from the game. And there have also been reports of certain malicious actors and bot hosters getting their Steam accounts limited, with the ban reports specifically citing interfering with the gameplay prosperity of Team Fortress 2. And again, while this is no means a permanent solution, it's definitely a step in the right direction, and it should be viewed as a victory for the movement. And once again, it just goes to show that people may get annoyed by complaining, but no one wants to admit that complaining is damn effective. And trust me, that's something I personally have a lot of experience with.
If only he knew. If only he knew that the movements did nothing. I shouldn't say they did nothing. They may have hastened the speed at which Valve was working on the bot fix, but if only he knew that they started working on this before Save TF2 even happened, and long before Fix TF2.
I think I get tired of being proven right so often, but you know what? It never really gets old. So let this serve as a reminder for all the doomers out there, all the people who think that TF2 should have just been abandoned.
A win's a win. Yes, a win is a win.
Just given up. Sometimes a little bit of active.
What's the source on that info? People who are in direct contact with people at Valve. That's all I can say. Because I don't want to burn my sources, and I don't want to burn other people's sources.
Activism goes a long way. And I understand that when this whole thing started, there was probably a fair chance that Valve would have just done nothing. But as you can see by what happened, making a big shitstorm sure as hell raised the odds that something would happen. And in this case,
if only he knew.
It did. Now, whether or not Valve is just going to go back into their den for 2 more years of radio silence, that's their own choice. But the stakes have been made clear. If they thought this whole TF2 situation is bad, I cannot wait to see the magnitude of the problem on Valve's doorstep when the CSGO and Dota 2 community get just as fed up. And I think Valve may have seen into the future.
Yeah, they'll have to reach a similar level of shit that TF2 did in order for them to have that kind of a response. Because I feel like most people play Counter-Strike for the gambling than the gameplay itself at this point. Because, like, whenever I go look at Counter-Strike content, and sure, content isn't reflective of how people engage with the game, but I would say, like, 80% of the videos I see about Counter-Strike are about the skins, are about the microtransactions, and are about the gambling.
The writing on the wall as well. And all of a sudden how the tables have turned. Suddenly all that treadmill work doesn't look so unappealing now. And I think the folks at Valve have figured out pretty quickly that even if for whatever reason they're unable to fix this massive cheating problem in their multiplayer games, they had better...
FIFA made $1.6 billion. Counter-Strike made 8. Isn't that crazy? Counter-Strike makes more money than FIFA.
Damn well try.
Hi, I want to play TF2.
I refuse.
What?
There you go. That was a good video. Fantastic video. Good shit. I mean, yeah, there you go. That's my sentiments exactly when it comes to all the shit surrounding how Valve was treating TF2. Their neglect was absolutely abhorrent. People were in every right to complain and give them shit. It's by no means entitled for people to complain that a game is not playable while it's being offered as playable. Simple as that. Just a good video. That's it. Yeah, Emblemin does make really good videos. I really enjoy his stuff. I like his main channel, and I like his second channel. Yeah, the VOD will remain. Don't worry, the VOD will remain. Someone is begging me to check my Discord DMs. Oh God, funny memes. Oh God. There you go, funny. I'm not sharing that one. That one's a little raunchy, but this one's funny. Have you or will you ever touch Meet Your Match's ever touch on Meet Your Match's matchmaking change and how it changed the quality of games significantly? Yes, that's that. The next video I'm working on is about Meet Your Match and that the absolute tragedy that update was. The absolute fucking disastrous shit show that was Meet Your Match. That's coming next. That is the video I'm working on next. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm going to take as much time as I need to make that video as perfect as possible. It could take a month, it could take 4 months, but that's what I'm going to sink all of my time into now because I want that to be as perfect as possible. Because this video that I'm working on, this script that I've been working on, has been 7 years of just disappointment that I'm trying to convey into words that people will understand. And also trying to convey it to people who were not here to experience what TF2 was like before Meet Your Match. And so they understand why a matchmaking system, and why matchmaking systems as a whole, tend to ruin the fun in video games. Especially something like Team Fortress 2, which was not designed to be a competitive fucking game. Competitive in the sense of esports. So that's what I'm working on next. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it'll take as long as it needs to. The TF2 community changed after Meet Your Match. It absolutely did. It really did, because once TF2 entered the Meet Your Match era, a lot of old heads left TF2. A lot of legacy players, a lot of longtime players left TF2 once the Meet Your Match update came out, because initially the update made the game borderline unplayable. Because of queuing times, because of, well, queue times is a big one. The quality of matches. It wasn't even a match. TF2 played in rounds. TF2 played in huge chunks of time. TF2 did not play in matches. A match wasn't even in the vocabulary of a TF2 fan, of a TF2 player. It was rounds. It was just going on the map. It wasn't a match of TF2. Have a good match. No. It was just playing the game. But matches were terrible. The gameplay loop was utterly destroyed. Community servers were fucking gutted. And people left. People left in droves. Even competitive players left TF2 after that update because of how fucking bad it was going for the greener pastures that was Overwatch. And so as a result, once the game still existed in this weird limbo that we're now re-experiencing now that the bots are gone, it seems like TF2 started appealing to just a new generation of fans that never really experienced the way the game was. And so they have no point of reference for how the game used to function and just how much better things used to be before that update came out. And it's like trying to explain someone who's only ever consumed burnt steak what not burnt steak tastes like. Like, burnt steak is still edible, and to someone who's only ever consumed, or I should say well done, not burnt. Like, it's like telling someone who's only ever consumed well done steak what a medium rare, well cooked steak tastes like, without having them actually taste a medium rare steak. That's kind of hard to do, because their only point of reference is a well done piece of leather. That's what I'm trying to do with this video. Yeah, Plato's Cave, exactly. Yeah, Plato's Cave is a good example. Good example of that. Yeah, Plato's Cave with Meet Your Match. And it's frustrating because I want the video to be as concise as possible, but the more I sit down and write, and the more I sit down and think about it, this video is going to be really long because there's so much that needs to be explained about why Valve did what they did with Meet Your Match that really, it could be explained in 2 sentences, but you miss out on a lot of details that are incredibly important. So it's gonna, I don't want it to be like a motion picture. I want it to be as concise as possible in hitting all of the right notes, but Those two sentences, Valve chased the bag by wanting to create a third esport and putting it under their belt, and were scared by Overwatch into rushing out a broken matchmaking system for a video game that was not designed to have it in the first place. There are your two sentences. But there's so much more that goes into it than that. Explaining what they did wrong. Why the changes they made were completely antithetical to TF2's original design. And the game that it still wants to be and tries to be, but the matchmaking system doesn't let you experience. And also, how the matchmaking system directly facilitated the bot crisis. How that system directly facilitated for servers to be constantly filled by these cheating bots. That's another factor. For 7 years. For 7 fucking years. It was like this. Why don't you play Sniper? I find Sniper very boring. I have to be in a rare mood to play Sniper, but whenever I play Sniper, it's just really fucking stale. Click head. Move a little bit. Click head. Move a little bit. Click head. I don't like it. Heavy is more engaging. Turtling as engineer is more engaging. Sniper is just spy but boring. Not really. I wouldn't say that. Anyways, I have been going for 3.5 hours. That's a good stream to kick things off again, where I'm going to get back into a more consistent routine of streaming. So thanks for hanging out. We didn't play TF2 today, but next time I will. Next time I will play TF2. Didn't feel like playing TF2 today. I felt kind of just there. Didn't feel like playing the game today. Later I will. Next stream I will. We'll play on my server next time. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling. Watched a good video. The VOD will stay up, don't worry. And, yeah. Y'all take care. Thanks for all the donations today. Workshop stream is going to happen this month, probably sometime late next week or the week after. Probably late next week. Also, if you want notifications for when I go live, join the Discord in the description below. You can't talk in there, it's just for notifications. But that's it. See y'all later.